I was standing in my own living room when my sister said the words that changed everything. Rachel stood at the center of the room, wedding binder pressed against her chest, her chin lifted with the confidence of someone who had never been told no. She looked at our parents first, then at me, and said it clearly, without hesitation. "The greatest gift you could give me for my wedding would be for you to disappear from this family, forever." The room went silent. I could hear the grandfather clock in the hallway ticking. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. I turned to my mother, waiting for her to laugh it off, to say Rachel was joking, to defend me the way mothers are supposed to defend their children. Patricia looked away. She studied the carpet like she had never seen it before. I turned to my father. "Harold, the man who taught me to ride a bike, who walked me down the aisle at my wedding, who cried at Daniel's funeral." He nodded. A small, quiet nod. Agreement. 3 weeks later they would be standing in this same living room, voices raised, faces red, staring at an empty house and asking how everything could fall apart so fast. But they did not know that yet. Neither did I. All I knew in that moment was that I had finally heard the truth spoken out loud. I looked at Rachel. 28 years old. Hair pulled back in a perfect bun. The wedding binder clutched like a shield. I saw the girl I used to carry on my shoulders at the county fair, the teenager I taught to parallel park in our parents' driveway, the woman who had somehow become a stranger. "All right," I said. She blinked. She had expected an argument, a scene, tears maybe, something she could use later to prove I was the difficult one. "All right," I said again. And I walked out of the room. Let me back up. My name is Olivia Bennett. I was 35 years old that spring, living in Willow Creek, Georgia, a small town about an hour outside Atlanta where everyone knows everyone, and secrets have a half-life of about 3 days. I worked as an administrative director at Willow Creek Memorial Hospital. I had been there for 8 years, promoted 3 times, respected by colleagues who actually knew my name. I was also a widow. 3 years earlier, my husband Daniel was killed in a car accident on Highway 78. It was a Tuesday morning. There was rain on the road. A truck driver fell asleep at the wheel. Daniel never saw it coming. We had been married for 4 years. We had plans, children, travel, growing old together on the porch of the house we bought with the life insurance policy from his previous job. That house, the one I was standing in when Rachel told me to disappear. The house was a 4-bedroom colonial on a quiet street. White shutters, wraparound porch, a magnolia tree in the backyard that Daniel planted our first spring there. I bought it with the insurance money after he died. Every penny went into that house. My name was on the deed, mine alone. The house was supposed to be our future. Instead, it became my anchor when everything else sank. I poured my grief into its walls. I refinished the hardwood floors myself, sanding until my arms ached. I painted every room colors Daniel and I had picked out together. I planted a garden in the backyard, tomatoes and basil and sunflowers, because he always said he wanted one. After the funeral, my family came to help. That is what they called it. Help. My parents sold their house 6 months after Daniel died. Downsizing, my mother said. The market was good. It made sense. They moved into my guest rooms temporarily, just until they figured out their next step. That was 3 years ago. They never left. Rachel started storing things in my basement, then my attic. Then she started using my Netflix account, my Amazon Prime, my Costco membership. She borrowed money she never paid back. She treated my house like a hotel and my wallet like her personal emergency fund. And I let it happen. Because that is what I did. I was the responsible one, the strong one, the one who handled things so everyone else did not have to. The wedding had taken over everything. 6 months earlier, Rachel got engaged to Marcus Chen, an accountant from Atlanta. Quiet, polite, the kind of man who listened more than he spoke. I met him twice. I liked him. I thought he deserved better than my sister, but I kept that to myself. Without asking, my family decided the wedding would be held at my house. The family home, Rachel called it. Except it was not the family home. It was my home. My name on the mortgage. My money paying every bill. The planning sessions happened in my living room. The vendors charged my credit cards. I was expected to host, to fund, to organize, and, apparently, to vanish before the actual ceremony, so I would not make things awkward. The meeting that day was supposed to be simple: seating charts, catering confirmations, final head count. Rachel stood at the front of the room like a CEO presenting quarterly earnings. My mother nodded at everything she said. My father read a newspaper in the corner, pretending to be invisible. I was discussed in the third person while sitting 3 feet away. Olivia can handle the parking situation. Olivia will need to clear the upstairs bathroom for the bridal party. Olivia will make sure the caterers have enough space in the kitchen. Then Rachel cleared her throat. "There is one more thing," she said. She looked at our mother first, then at me. "I do not want any awkwardness on my wedding day." I waited. "People might get confused," she continued. "I mean, you are not really part of the wedding party. And honestly, it would mean a lot to me if you just stepped back, completely." I still said nothing. She took a breath and finished. "The greatest gift you could give me would be for you to disappear from this family forever." I remember the silence that followed, the way the afternoon light fell across the hardwood floors I had sanded with my own hands, the smell of the lilies my mother had brought, the ones I was allergic to. The wedding binder spread across the coffee table I bought with Daniel. No one defended me. No one said, "Rachel, that is too far." No one even flinched. My mother looked away. My father nodded, and something inside me shifted. Not broke, shifted. Like a lock finally turning after years of trying the wrong key. "All right," I said. And I meant it. That night, after they all left, I walked through my house alone. The living room, rearranged for wedding planning, my books shoved aside to make room for sample albums. The kitchen, colonized by my mother's tea collection and my father's newspaper stacks. The hallway, where my wedding portrait with Daniel still hung, the one Rachel had suggested we move for the ceremony so it would not be in the photos. I stopped in front of that portrait, Daniel and I, 7 years ago, on the happiest day of my life. I was laughing. He was looking at me like I was the whole world. She wanted it moved, hidden, erased. I touched the frame, whispered to no one, "They want me to disappear." Then, quieter. Maybe I should. Something crystallized in that moment. Not rage, something colder, clearer, more deliberate. Rachel asked me to disappear, in front of witnesses. With my parents' silent approval. Fine, I would disappear. But not the way she expected. I went to Daniel's study, the small room off the hallway that I had kept exactly as he left it. His books on the shelves, his reading chair by the window, the filing cabinet where we kept important documents. I opened the cabinet, found the folder labeled House Documents, pulled out the deed, my name, Olivia Marie Bennett, sole owner, no co-signers. No other names. The house was legally, completely, unquestionably mine. I ran my finger over Daniel's signature on the original purchase agreement. He had insisted on putting it only in my name. "Just in case," he said. I laughed and called him morbid. He was right. He was always right. I sat at his desk, opened my laptop, created a new document. I titled it, "What I Have Given." And I started typing. The mortgage payments, $1,420 a month, paid by me. Every month for 3 years since they moved in. The utilities, electric, gas, water, internet, averaging $450 a month, paid by me. The groceries. I did all the shopping, I paid all the bills. My parents never once offered to split the cost. Rachel's credit card debt, $8,400. 2 years ago, she called me crying, saying she would lose everything. I paid it off the next day. She never mentioned it again. The wedding expenses. I pulled up my credit card statement. Charges I did not recognize. A florist deposit, $3,200. A venue fee, $4,000. A bridal boutique in Atlanta, $1,800. I never authorized any of it. Rachel just took my card numbers and used them, assuming I would not notice or would not object. The list grew, line by line, year by year. Everything I had given, everything they had taken. By midnight, the document had 47 items. I was not even halfway done. I looked at the wedding binder still sitting on the coffee table. 4 weeks until the ceremony, 4 weeks until I was expected to smile and serve and then vanish like I had never existed. I closed my laptop. They asked me to disappear, I thought. They just never considered what would vanish with me. I woke the next morning after barely sleeping. My mind had raced all night, replaying Rachel's words, my mother's turned face, my father's nod. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them. Every time I started to drift off, I heard that sentence again. Disappear from this family forever. The house was quiet when I finally gave up on sleep. My parents had gone to early church service. Rachel was at Marcus's apartment in Atlanta. For once, I had the house to myself. My house, the one they all seemed to have forgotten belonged to me. I made coffee in the kitchen Daniel designed, sunlight through the window, birds singing outside. Everything looked the same as it had 1,000 mornings before. But nothing felt the same. Something had shifted in my chest, and it was not shifting back. I sat at the table with my laptop. The document from last night was still open. What I have given, 47 lines. I remembered stopping at midnight, exhausted but unable to sleep. In the daylight, I kept going. I pulled up bank statements, credit card records, receipts I had saved in a folder labeled family expenses. I had always been organized. Daniel used to tease me about it. You could audit the IRS, he said once. I laughed and told him someone had to keep track. Now I was grateful for every receipt, every statement, every record I had kept without knowing why. By 9 a.m, the list had 73 items. I added up the total so far. Over $42,000. And I had not even touched the wedding expenses yet. I found a charge from 2 months ago that I did not recognize. A bridal boutique in Atlanta, $1,800. I never approved that purchase. I never even knew about it. Rachel had simply taken my card number and used it, the way she had been taking things from me her entire life. That thought stopped me. Her entire life. I stared at the laptop screen, but my mind drifted backward. To the beginning. To the pattern I had spent 35 years refusing to see. I was 12 years old when I first understood my role in this family. Rachel was 5. Our mother was overwhelmed with a new job, long hours, a difficult schedule. I became the backup parent before I was old enough to drive. Olivia, watch your sister. Olivia, help with dinner. Olivia, you are the big girl now. I did not mind. I was proud to be trusted. I thought it meant I was special, that my mother saw something in me worth relying on. I did not understand that being reliable was not the same as being loved. Rachel got the bedtime stories. Rachel got the lap sitting. Rachel got the soft voice, and the my baby, and the extra cookie after dinner. I got responsibility. I told myself that was just as good. I was wrong. When I turned 16, I wanted a car. Not a new one. Just something that worked. I got a job at the diner downtown. I babysat. I tutored younger kids in math. I saved every dollar for 2 years. I bought a used Honda Civic with a dent in the front fender and a tape deck that only worked half the time. I was proud of that car. I had earned it with my own hands. Rachel turned 16 2 years later. On her birthday, there was a brand new Toyota Camry in the driveway with a bow on top. My mother cried happy tears. My father beamed like he had won the lottery. I said nothing. I told myself Rachel was different. She needed more support. She was not as strong as I was. I drove my dented Civic to college and never mentioned the difference again. College was more of the same. I sat in the financial aid office signing student loan papers. $22,000 for 4 years. I would pay it off myself, however long it took. Rachel went to college 4 years later. Full tuition paid by our parents. We saved for this, my mother said. I did the math afterward. They had not saved for me. They had saved through me. By not helping me, they had more to give her. I graduated with honors and debt. Rachel graduated with a degree in communications and a trip to Europe as a gift. Then came my wedding. Daniel and I planned a small ceremony in the backyard of a friend's house, beautiful but modest. We could not afford anything extravagant, and I did not want to ask for help. But I did ask, once, the only time in my life I asked my parents for money. My mother's response still echoed in my memory. "Sweetheart, you know things are tight right now, but you are so capable, you will figure it out." Daniel's parents paid for the reception. Daniel's parents gave the toast. My own parents sat in the back row and left early. Daniel noticed. "Your family," he started to say once, trailing off. I shook my head. "It is fine. They are just like that." I had been saying "they are just like that" my whole life, as if it were an explanation, as if it made everything acceptable. I closed the laptop and rubbed my eyes. The memories were heavy. I had carried them for so long that I forgot they were even there. Like furniture you stop seeing because it has always been in the same place. But now I saw it. All of it. The pattern that had shaped my entire life. 3 years ago, after Daniel's funeral, my parents arrived at my door with suitcases. "We are here to help, sweetheart. You should not be alone." I was numb, hollow, barely functioning. I could not argue. I could not think. I just let them in. My father brought boxes. My mother brought her tea collection. Rachel brought her storage needs. They moved into my guest rooms for a few weeks, just until I got back on my feet. A few weeks became a few months. A few months became a year. A year became 3. By the time I surfaced from my grief, they were permanent fixtures. My mother had rearranged my kitchen cabinets for efficiency. My father had claimed the garage for his woodworking, boxing up Daniel's tools and storing them in the attic without asking. Rachel had taken over the basement, then my streaming accounts, then my credit cards. No one paid rent. No one offered. I never asked because asking would mean admitting they should have offered in the first place. The bills came. I paid them. The mortgage, the utilities, the groceries, the repairs. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself this was what families did. I told myself a lot of things. I looked around my kitchen now with new eyes. My mother's tea collection filling an entire cabinet. My father's newspaper on the counter. Rachel's wedding binder still sitting on my coffee table. They had not moved in to help me. They had moved in to help themselves, to my house, to my money, to my life. And now they wanted me to disappear from it. I went to Daniel's study, opened the filing cabinet, found the folder labeled House Documents. The deed was exactly where I had left it. My name. Sole owner. No one else. I kept digging. There were other folders I had not looked at in years. Insurance policies, tax records, mortgage statements, all paid by me. Every single one. Then I found something I did not recognize. A manila folder I had never seen before, tucked behind my property tax receipts. I opened it. Inside were printed emails between Rachel and my mother, planning documents, a draft of something called Bennett Family Trust. I read it slowly. My hands started to shake. The trust proposed transferring 50% ownership of my house to my parents. For estate planning purposes, the document said, to ensure family continuity, to protect the family home for future generations. There was a signature line at the bottom. My name, typed and waiting. The document was dated 2 weeks ago. They never told me. They never asked. They were just waiting for the right moment to present it. Probably after the wedding, when I would be emotional and grateful to be included after being excluded from everything else. At the bottom of the folder, I found a handwritten note in my mother's handwriting. Talk to lawyer Monday. Make sure she cannot back out once she signs. I sat in Daniel's chair for a long time, holding that note, reading it over and over. They were not just using me. They were planning to take what was mine, legally, permanently, without my knowledge or consent. My phone rang. I almost did not answer. But I saw the name on the screen, Claire, my closest friend from work. We had known each other for 8 years. I picked up. Hey, she said. I was just checking in. You seemed off at work Friday. Everything okay? I hesitated. I had never talked about my family with anyone, Not really. Daniel knew, but Daniel was gone. Something broke open inside me. I started talking. I told Claire about the meeting, about Rachel's words, about the nod, about the trust document I had just found. She was silent for a long moment. Then she said, "Say that again." She said what? I repeated it. Hearing it out loud made it more real, more unbearable. "Liv," Claire said, "that is insane. That is actually insane." For the first time, I felt validated. I was not overreacting. I was not being too sensitive. Someone else could see it. She asked more questions. I told her about the credit card charges, the years of unpaid rent, the wedding expenses I never authorized. "You need to protect yourself," Claire said. "Right now. Today. Get copies of everything. Bank statements, deeds, tax records. Screenshot those emails. Do not confront them yet. Just document." "I have been documenting," I said. "I started a list last night." "Good. Keep going. And Liv, that house is yours. Do not let them take it." We hung up. I sat in Daniel's study, surrounded by paperwork, and felt something I had not felt in years. Clarity. I had been so busy being the responsible one that I forgot I had choices. I forgot I could say no, not anymore. I needed air. I walked outside to check the mail. Grace Holloway was at her mailbox next door, 70 years old, widowed. She lived alone in the yellow house with the rose garden. We had exchanged pleasantries for years, nothing deep, just neighbors being neighborly. But today, she looked at me differently. "I saw them leave yesterday," she said. "Your family, after that meeting." I stiffened. "I was not eavesdropping," she continued, "but sound carries. And I have been watching that house for 3 years." I did not know what to say. Grace stepped closer. Her voice dropped. "I have seen you carry those groceries in alone. I have seen you pay the lawn service while your father sits on the porch. I have watched your sister come and go like she owns the place." She paused. Her eyes were kind but serious. "You are a good woman, Olivia. Maybe too good. There is a difference between being family and being used." My throat tightened. A stranger saw it. A neighbor I barely knew could see what my own parents refused to acknowledge. "Whatever you are thinking about doing," Grace said, "do it before they take anything else." She walked back to her house. I stood at the mailbox, mail in hand, heart pounding. In the stack of envelopes, I found an invoice. A wedding venue in Atlanta, the Whitmore Estate. Amount due, $4,000. Payment method listed, Olivia Bennett, Visa ending in 4421. I never authorized this. I had never even heard of this venue. They were not just planning to take my house. They were already spending my money on a wedding I had been told to disappear from. I went back inside, sat at my laptop, opened the spreadsheet again. I added the venue invoice, the bridal boutique charge, the trust document, the handwritten note from my mother. The total was climbing. It would climb higher. I created a new folder on my desktop, named it Exit Strategy. They had spent years training me to give, to sacrifice, to disappear quietly into the background of my own life. But they forgot something important. The house was in my name. The money was in my accounts. And the door? I was the one holding the key. It was time to find out what happened when I stopped holding it open for everyone else. I spent the next 3 days in controlled silence. I went to work. I came home. I nodded at my family when I passed them in the hallway. I said nothing of substance, nothing real, nothing that would reveal what was building inside me. Patricia kept glancing at me, waiting for something. A breakdown, maybe. Tears, an apology for my coldness, the explosion she could use as proof that I was the difficult one. It never came. I gave her nothing but pleasant emptiness. Rachel texted me twice about wedding details. I responded with single words. "Fine. Okay, sure." She did not seem to notice anything was wrong. She never noticed anything that did not directly involve her. Harold avoided me entirely. Whenever I walked into a room, he found a reason to leave. The garage needed organizing. The lawn needed checking. Something always needed his attention that was not me. At night, after everyone was asleep, I worked. I had transformed Daniel's study into a command center. Filing folders in color-coded stacks, labeled tabs, chronological order. Every receipt, every statement, every record I could find, organized with surgical precision. I requested bank statements going back 3 years, credit card records from every account, mortgage documents, insurance policies. Everything arrived digitally, everything got printed, everything got filed. My hands moved mechanically as I sorted through the evidence of my own exploitation. I told myself I was just gathering facts. Numbers do not lie. Numbers do not take sides. Numbers just tell the truth. The first section of my ledger was housing. I pulled every mortgage statement, every insurance bill, every tax record. Monthly mortgage payment, $1,420, paid by me. Every single month for 7 years. Property taxes, $4,200 annually, paid by me. Homeowner's insurance, $1,800 annually, paid by me. I added it up. Total housing costs since Daniel died, over $63,000. My parents' contribution, 0. I wrote it down, saw it in black and white. My jaw tightened, but I kept going. The second section was utilities and upkeep. Electric, gas, water, internet, trash collection, averaging $450 monthly. Lawn service, $120 monthly. Harold complained once that the mower was too heavy for him, so I hired someone. HVAC repair last winter, $2,300. Roof patch after the storm, $1,800. New water heater, $1,200. 3 years of keeping this house running, over $28,000. Family contribution, 0. The third section was my parents' living expenses. The things I paid for simply because they lived under my roof. My mother's prescription medications. I had added her to my health spending account after she moved in, not thinking about the cost. Over $4,000. My father's car repair. His transmission failed last year. $2,100. My father's workshop supplies, charged to the household account because he never thought to separate his expenses from mine. Over $3,000, groceries. I did all the shopping, I paid all the bills. 3 years of feeding 4 adults. Approximately $18,000. My mother had never once offered to split a grocery bill. Not once in 3 years. The fourth section was Rachel. Credit card debt from 2 years ago. She called me crying, saying collectors were threatening her, saying she would lose everything. I paid it off the next day, $8,400. She never mentioned it again. A temporary loan for an apartment deposit when she briefly moved out last year. $2,000. Never repaid. Car insurance she forgot to pay. I covered 6 months before she even noticed. $840. Then I found something I had not noticed before. A recurring monthly charge on my credit card. $200 to something called RB Personal Services. I searched for it online. It was a subscription styling service. Clothes and accessories delivered monthly. RB, Rachel Bennett. She had signed up for a personal shopping service using my card. It had been running for 14 months. $2,800 for clothes I had never seen her wear. She never asked. She just took. Because that was what she had always done. The fifth section was the wedding. I saved this one for last because I knew it would be the worst. I pulled every email confirmation, every receipt, every charge I could find. Venue deposit at the Whitmore estate, $4,000. Charged to my Visa. Florist consultation and deposit, $3,200. Charged to my Visa. Catering, tasting, and booking fee, $2,800. Charged to my Visa. Bridal gown and alterations, $4,500. Charged to my MasterCard. Bridesmaid dresses that Rachel ordered for her friends, $1,800. Charged to my Visa. Save the dates and invitations, $850. Charged to my Amazon account. Wedding website premium subscription, $240. Charged to my PayPal. I checked my email. Some of these vendor confirmations had been sent to me, buried in promotional folders where I rarely looked. Others I was never told about at all. Rachel had simply taken my card numbers and used them. She assumed I would not notice, or that I would notice and say nothing. Both assumptions had been correct for years. Total wedding expenses already charged to my accounts, over $18,000. For a wedding I had been told to disappear from, I opened Excel, created a master summary sheet, added every category together. 3 years of supporting my family. 1 wedding I was forbidden to attend. The total, $182,417. I stared at the number, read it aloud in the empty room. $182,000. That was what I was worth to them. That was what they had taken without asking, without thanking, without even acknowledging. That was what they expected to keep taking forever, and they wanted me to vanish without a word. I was still processing the number when I found something else in my old email folders. A message from my mother to Rachel, sent 3 years ago, right after Daniel's funeral. Do not worry about your sister. She is strong. She will handle the house and everything else. She always does. I read it 3 times. She always does. Like it was a given. Like I was a resource to be used, not a person to be loved. Then I found another email. This one was worse. Rachel had sent it to a friend 2 years ago and accidentally copied me. I must have missed it at the time, lost in the flood of daily messages. Do not worry about the credit card thing. My sister will bail me out. She always does. She literally has nothing else to spend money on anyway, LOL. Nothing else to spend money on. Because my husband was dead. Because I had no children. Because my grief made me convenient. I sat back in Daniel's chair and stared at the ceiling. The rage was there now, cold and clear. Not hot, not explosive, just ice in my veins and clarity in my mind. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Hi, Olivia. This is Marcus, Rachel's fiancé. I know this is strange, but could we meet? There is something I need to ask you. Please do not tell Rachel. I read the message twice. Marcus, the quiet accountant. The man who listened more than he spoke. Why would he want to meet with me secretly? I typed a response. I can meet Friday morning. There is a coffee shop on Main Street called the Copper Kettle, 9 a.m. His reply came immediately. Thank you. I will be there. I did not know what he wanted. But I was curious. The next evening there was a knock at the back door. I opened it to find Grace Holloway standing on my porch, holding a casserole dish. Your mother said you were busy with work, Grace said. I told her I would just leave this with you. I could hear Patricia hovering in the hallway behind me, trying to listen. Grace looked past me, saw her there, and closed the study door firmly in her face. Grace set down the casserole. Her eyes swept the room, taking in the filing folders, the stacks of paper, the laptop open to spreadsheets. Good, she said. You are doing what I hoped you would do. I looked at her. You know what I am doing? I know what I would be doing. Documenting everything before they can rewrite history. Grace sat down without being invited. She had earned that right. I need to tell you something, she said. Her voice dropped low. 2 weeks ago I was trimming my roses, the ones along your fence. I nodded. I knew which ones she meant. Your sister and your mother were in the backyard. They did not see me, but I heard them. She paused. Her face was serious. They were talking about your house, about getting your name off the deed. Your mother said something about a trust document. She said once you signed it, you could not undo it. My blood ran cold. The trust document. I had found it myself, but hearing it confirmed by someone else made it real in a different way. Grace continued. Rachel laughed. She said, Olivia will sign anything if we frame it the right way. She is too guilty about having money to say no. The words hung in the air between us. They said that? I asked. Word for word, Grace said. I wrote it down when I got home. I have it dated. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. Handwritten notes, dated and timed. Take this, she said. You might need a witness someday. I took the paper, unfolded it, read her neat handwriting. Every word confirmed what I already suspected, but seeing it written by someone else made it undeniable. After Grace left, I pulled out the trust document again, read it with new eyes. Not as a confused daughter, but as a target. The language was careful, professional, designed to sound reasonable, for estate planning purposes, to ensure family continuity, to protect the family home for future generations. Translation: to take half of my house without paying for it. The document came from a law firm in Atlanta, Morrison and Kay Family Law. I recognized the name. My mother had mentioned them once. A friend's recommendation, she said. They never told me they were consulting a lawyer, never mentioned estate planning, never asked my opinion. They just prepared the paperwork and waited for the right moment to present it. Probably after the wedding, when I would be emotional. Grateful to be included after being excluded from everything else. The manipulation was elegant, patient, years in the making. I made a decision. I needed my own lawyer. Someone who would protect my interests. Someone who did not know my family. I searched online. Real estate attorney, Willow Creek, Georgia. I found a name. Helen Marsh. Marsh and Associates. Specializing in property law and estate disputes. I sent an email. I need to discuss selling my home. There are complications. Can we meet this week? The reply came within an hour. Friday, 2 p.m. Bring all documentation. I closed my laptop. From the hallway I could hear footsteps, my mother's voice talking to my father. She has been locked in that room for days. What do you think she is doing? My father's reply, barely audible. I do not know, but I do not like it. I smiled in the darkness of Daniel's study. They were right to be worried. They just did not know how right. I spent Thursday night finishing the ledger, 5 sections, 147 individual items, 3 years of invisible labor and silent sacrifice. Total, $182,417. I printed the master summary, held it in my hands. This was what I was worth to them. This was what they took without asking. This was what they expected to keep taking forever. I bought a black binder from the office supply store. Professional, thick, the kind accountants use. I labeled the spine in block letters. What disappears? Inside, I organized everything. Tabs for each section, summaries at the front, supporting documents behind. It was not a weapon. It was a mirror. It simply reflected what they had done. When the time came, I would hold it up, and they would have to see themselves. I placed the completed binder in my briefcase. Tomorrow, coffee with Marcus at 9, lawyer at 2, 2 meetings that would determine everything. They thought I was weak because I was quiet. They mistook patience for passivity. But I was not being patient. I was preparing. The ledger was complete. Every dollar, every sacrifice, every lie they told themselves about deserving my money, my house, my life. Now it was time to show them what disappearing really looked like. The trust document sat in my briefcase like a bomb waiting to go off. I had not signed it. I would never sign it. But they did not know that yet. Friday morning arrived gray and overcast, the kind of day that felt heavy before it even began. I had 2 meetings scheduled. Marcus at 9, the lawyer at 2. Between them, I would make decisions that could never be undone. I dressed carefully, professional but understated, the kind of outfit that said I was serious without saying I was going to war. I left the house before anyone else was awake, my briefcase in one hand and my car keys in the other. The copper kettle was quiet at 9 in the morning. A few retirees with newspapers, a young mother wrestling with a toddler in a high chair, the smell of fresh coffee and cinnamon rolls. Normal life happening all around me while mine was falling apart. I ordered black coffee and took a booth near the back window. I was early. I wanted to be settled when Marcus arrived. He walked in at exactly 9 o'clock. He looked tired, dark circles under his eyes. His shirt was slightly wrinkled, like he had slept in it or not slept at all. He spotted me immediately and made his way over. "Thank you for meeting me," he said as he slid into the booth across from me. "I know this is strange. You said there was something you needed to ask me. He nodded, folded his hands on the table, looked at them instead of at me. Rachel has been acting differently lately, stressed, secretive. She keeps saying everything is fine, but I can tell something is wrong. He looked up. His eyes were searching. I asked her mother about it. Patricia said you were having some kind of breakdown, that you were jealous of the wedding, that you were trying to cause problems. I said nothing. I let him continue. But that did not sound right to me. I have met you twice, Olivia. You do not seem like the type to sabotage your sister's wedding out of jealousy. I took a sip of my coffee. Waited. So I started paying attention, Marcus said, to the things Rachel says. The things she does not say. The way the bills get handled. The way everyone talks about this house like it belongs to all of them. He paused. How much do you actually pay for? I could have lied. I could have deflected. I could have told him to ask Rachel. Instead, I reached into my briefcase and pulled out a single sheet of paper. The summary page from my ledger. Not the whole binder, just the numbers. I slid it across the table. Marcus picked it up. His eyes moved down the page. I watched his face change. Confusion first, then disbelief, then something harder. $182,000, he said quietly. In 3 years. That is what I have paid to support my family since my husband died. That includes wedding expenses that were charged to my credit cards without my knowledge or permission. Marcus set down the paper. His hands were trembling slightly. Rachel told me her parents were covering most of the wedding. She said they had been saving for years. Her parents have been living in my house rent-free for 3 years. They have not been saving. They have been spending. My money. He was silent for a long moment. Processing. Why are you telling me this? Because you asked. And because last week, in a family meeting at my house, Rachel told me the greatest wedding gift I could give her would be to disappear from the family forever. His face went pale. She said that? In front of our parents. My mother looked away. My father nodded. No one defended me. Marcus stared at the paper in his hands like it might burst into flames. I did not know, he said. I did not know any of this. I believe you. That is why I agreed to meet with you. He looked up. What are you going to do? I held his gaze for a moment. Then I took back the paper and tucked it into my briefcase. I am going to do exactly what she asked. I am going to disappear. He did not understand. Not yet. But he would. I left Marcus at the coffee shop looking shell-shocked. He had more questions, but I did not have time to answer them. My next meeting was more important. Helen Marsh's office was in a converted Victorian house on the edge of downtown. The sign out front said Marsh and Associates, but Helen was a one-woman operation. She had known Daniel. They had worked together on some real estate deals years ago. When he died, she sent flowers and a handwritten note. She was the only professional contact of his who did. I walked in at exactly 2:00. Helen met me in the lobby. She was in her 60s, silver-haired, with sharp eyes and a firm handshake. Olivia. It is good to see you again. I was surprised to get your email. I have a situation, I said. I need professional advice. She led me to her office, comfortable chairs, family photos on the desk, a window overlooking a small garden. Tell me everything, she said. So I did. I told her about Daniel's death, about my family moving in, about the years of unpaid rent and unauthorized charges, about the trust document they had prepared without my knowledge, about Rachel's declaration and my parents' silent agreement. Helen listened without interrupting. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. Do you have documentation? I opened my briefcase and placed the binder on her desk. What disappears on the spine? She flipped through it. Her eyebrows rose higher with each page. This is thorough, she said. Very thorough. I am an administrative director. Organization is what I do. She closed the binder, looked at me directly. What do you want to happen, Olivia? I want to sell the house. I want to know if I can do that without their permission, and I want to know how fast it can happen. Helen nodded slowly. The house is in your name alone? Yes. I have the deed. Daniel insisted on it when we bought the property. Then you have every legal right to sell. You do not need anyone's permission. Not your parents, not your sister. No one. The relief that washed through me was physical. I felt my shoulders drop, my jaw unclench. How long would it take? I asked. Normally 60 to 90 days. But the market is hot right now. If you are willing to price competitively and we find the right buyer, we could close in 3 to 4 weeks. 3 to 4 weeks. The wedding was in 4 weeks. The timing was almost poetic. There is one more thing, Helen said. Once you list the property, it becomes public knowledge. Anyone can see it online. Your family will find out. I know. That is why I need it to happen fast. I want it done before they have time to interfere. Helen studied me for a moment. You understand this will probably end your relationship with them. I smiled, though there was no humor in it. That relationship ended when my sister told me to disappear and no one said a word. Helen nodded. Then let us get started. We spent the next hour going over paperwork, listing agreements, pricing strategies, timeline expectations. Helen was professional and efficient, but I could see something else in her eyes. Respect, maybe, or recognition. When we finished, she walked me to the door. Daniel used to talk about you, she said. He said you were the strongest person he knew. I think I understand what he meant now. I did not know how to respond to that, so I just thanked her and left. That night, my mother approached me in the kitchen. Her voice was soft, gentle, the voice she used when she wanted something. Sweetheart, she said, I was hoping we could talk about that trust document. The one I mentioned last week. I kept my face neutral. What about it? It is really just for protection, for all of us. You know how much we love this house. We just want to make sure it stays in the family. I see, Patricia smiled. The lawyer said it would be very simple. You would just need to sign a few papers. We could take care of everything else. I will think about it, I said. And I walked away. Behind me, I heard her exhale with relief. She thought she had won. She thought I was going to sign away half my house because she asked nicely. She had no idea what was coming. I started packing the next day, slowly, carefully, only the things that belonged to me and Daniel, a box of books from his study, the reading chair he loved, photo albums from our life together, his tools from the attic where my father had banished them. I worked in small increments, an hour here, an hour there, always when the house was empty or when everyone was distracted. I loaded boxes into my car and drove them to a storage unit I had rented across town. No one noticed. No one paid attention to what I was doing. They never had. One afternoon, Harold caught me carrying a box to my car. What is that? He asked. Old clothes, I said, donating them to the church. He nodded and went back to the garage. He did not look inside the box. He did not ask any questions. He had spent so many years not seeing me that he had forgotten how to look. I found Daniel's letter on Thursday night. It fell out of a box I was packing, a single envelope that must have been tucked between books for years. His handwriting on the front. For Olivia. In case. He had written it before we bought the house, before the insurance policy, before any of it. I sat on the floor of his study and opened the envelope. My love, he wrote, if you are reading this, then something has happened to me, and I am sorry I cannot be there to say this in person. Tears blurred my vision. I kept reading. I know your family. I know how they take from you without giving back. I know you cannot see it, because you love them, and love makes us blind to the people who hurt us most. But I see it. I have always seen it. Promise me something. Promise me you will take care of yourself first. That is all I ever wanted. Not for you to sacrifice everything for people who will never appreciate it. Not for you to disappear into their needs until there is nothing left of you. You deserve more than that. You deserve to be seen. You deserve to be loved. You deserve a life that belongs to you. Whatever happens, remember that you are enough. You have always been enough. All my love, Daniel. I cried for the first time in 3 years. Not gentle tears, great heaving sobs that shook my whole body. I cried for Daniel, for myself, for all the years I had wasted trying to earn love from people who were incapable of giving it. When the tears finally stopped, I felt different, lighter, clearer. Daniel had seen it. He had always seen it, and he had tried to tell me in his own quiet way that I deserved better. I folded the letter carefully and placed it in my purse. I would carry it with me from now on, a reminder of what real love looked like. Friday afternoon, Helen called. "I have news," she said. Her voice was excited. "A cash buyer came through, a couple from Chicago. They saw the listing this morning and made an offer immediately. How much? Full asking price, no contingencies. They want to close fast. How fast? 10 days. My heart stopped. 10 days. Less than 2 weeks. Before the wedding. Before my family could do anything to stop it. "What do you want to do?" Helen asked. I took a breath. Thought about Daniel's letter. Thought about everything I had given and everything that had been taken. "Do it," I said. "Accept the offer. Done. I will have the paperwork ready by Monday." I hung up the phone. Stood in the middle of my kitchen, the kitchen my family had colonized, the kitchen my sister wanted to remodel after the wedding. In 10 days, the house would no longer be mine, and neither would the family that came with it. I looked around at the walls I had painted, the floors I had refinished, the life I had built from the ashes of my grief. "Goodbye," I whispered. To the house, to Daniel, to the woman I used to be. It was time to become someone new. The days that followed were a careful dance of deception. I moved through my house like a ghost, present but not quite there, visible but not truly seen. My family continued their routines around me, oblivious to the fact that everything they depended on was about to vanish. I packed in secret. Every morning before work, I would load 1 or 2 boxes into my car. Every evening after dinner, I would sort through another closet, another drawer, another piece of my life that needed to be separated from theirs. I was surgical about it. Only the things that belonged to me and Daniel. Our wedding china, still in the original boxes because my mother preferred her own dishes. His books, the ones my father had shoved to the back of shelves to make room for his magazines. Photo albums from our life together, memories they had never cared to look at. The storage unit across town was filling up, a 10 by 10 space packed with the remnants of my real life, the one I had lived before my family invaded. No one noticed. Patricia was too busy planning seating arrangements. Harold was too busy avoiding eye contact. Rachel was too busy being a bride. They had stopped seeing me years ago. Now their blindness was my advantage. I spent Monday afternoon at Helen's office signing paperwork. The buyers, the Hendersons, were eager to close quickly. They had fallen in love with the house the moment they saw it. A surgeon and a teacher relocating from Chicago for a slower pace of life. They had 2 children and a golden retriever. They wanted a fresh start in a small town. I liked them. I liked the idea of a real family living in those rooms, filling them with laughter instead of resentment. Helen walked me through every document. Closing date set for Monday of the following week, 10 days away. The Hendersons would pay cash, which meant no mortgage approval delays, no contingencies, no complications. "Once you sign these papers," Helen said, "this becomes official. The house goes into escrow. Your family will be notified as a courtesy, but they have no legal right to stop the sale." I signed everything without hesitation. Helen watched me carefully. "Are you sure about this? There is no going back after today." I thought about Rachel's words. I thought about my mother's turned face. I thought about my father's nod. I am sure. That evening I made a list of every wedding vendor that had been charged to my credit cards. The florist, the caterer, the venue, the dress shop, the stationer. 12 businesses in total, representing over $18,000 of unauthorized charges. I started making calls the next morning. The florist was first. I dialed from my car in the hospital parking lot during my lunch break. Good afternoon. This is Olivia Bennett. I placed an order under my credit card for the Chen Bennett wedding. I need to cancel that order. There was confusion on the other end. The woman checked her records, verified my card number, asked if I was sure. I am sure, I said. Please process the refund immediately. She did. $3,200 would be returned to my account within 5 to 7 business days. 1 down, 11 to go. The caterer was next, then the backup venue deposit, then the stationer. Each call followed the same pattern: confusion, verification, cancellation. Each time I felt a little lighter. Each refund was money I had never agreed to spend, returning to where it belonged. By Thursday, I had canceled 8 of the 12 vendors. The remaining 4 would have to wait until the next week. Some had non-refundable deposits. I accepted those losses. Some money is worth losing for the sake of freedom. Total refunded so far, $11,400. $11,000 they had charged without permission. $11,000 they assumed I would never reclaim. They were wrong. Thursday afternoon, Marcus texted me again. This was his 3rd message since our meeting at the coffee shop. I cannot stop thinking about what you showed me. Rachel will not answer my questions. Her mother keeps changing the subject. I need to understand what is happening. Can we talk again? I considered ignoring him. This was not his battle. He had not asked to be drawn into my family's dysfunction. But there was something in his messages that felt genuine. A man trying to understand the truth before he made the biggest decision of his life. I typed a reply. Same place. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. His response was immediate. Thank you. Friday morning, I walked into the Copper Kettle for the 2nd time in a week. Marcus was already there, sitting in the same booth, staring at an untouched cup of coffee. He looked worse than before. The circles under his eyes had deepened. His jaw was tight with tension. I slid into the seat across from him. You look like you have not slept. I have not. Not really. He wrapped his hands around his coffee cup like he was trying to draw warmth from it. I keep going over everything in my head. The things Rachel has told me. The things that do not add up. Like what? He hesitated. Then the words came out in a rush. She told me she paid off her own credit card debt 2 years ago, that she worked extra shifts to do it. But you showed me she did not pay anything. You paid it. Yes, she told me her parents were contributing to the wedding, that they had been saving for years. But you said they have been living in your house rent-free. Also true. Marcus stared at his coffee. What else has she lied about? I could not answer that question. I did not know the full extent of Rachel's deceptions. I only knew my own experience. I cannot tell you what she has or has not told you, I said carefully. I can only tell you what I know to be true. I have paid for almost everything related to this wedding. I have supported my family financially for 3 years, and last week I was told to disappear from all of it. He looked up. His eyes were red-rimmed. Why would she lie to me? I think she has been lying for so long that she does not know how to stop. Or maybe she does not think of it as lying. Maybe she has convinced herself that she deserves everything she takes. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he asked the question I had been waiting for. What are you going to do? I am selling the house. His eyes widened. What? The house is mine. I bought it with my husband's life insurance. My name is on the deed, no one else's. I have every legal right to sell it. But your parents live there. Yes, and the wedding is supposed to be there. Yes. He sat back, stunned. So, you are just going to sell it? Without telling them? I told my sister to disappear from the family forever. My parents agreed, so I am doing exactly what they asked. I am disappearing, along with everything I brought to this family. Marcus said nothing. He just stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time. I leaned forward. I want to ask you something, Marcus, and I need you to answer honestly. He nodded. Before we met at the coffee shop, did you have any idea how the wedding was being paid for? Any idea at all? He shook his head slowly. Rachel handles the finances. She said it was all taken care of. I just assumed her family was paying. You assumed. I should have asked more questions. Yes, you should have. He flinched at that. But he did not argue. I am not telling you what to do, I said. This is your life, your decision. But you deserve to know what you are marrying into. I never had that chance with my family. I was born into it. You still have a choice. Marcus stared at the table. His coffee had gone cold. The cafe hummed with quiet conversation around us. Normal people living normal lives. I do not know what to do, he said finally. I stood up, left cash on the table for my coffee. Figure it out. But do it soon. Because in 10 days, that house will belong to someone else. And everything your fiancé has been planning will have to happen somewhere else, if it happens at all. I left him there, sitting alone with his thoughts. That afternoon, my mother cornered me in the kitchen. Olivia, she said, her voice laced with false sweetness. I have been trying to reach some of the wedding vendors. There seems to be some confusion about the orders. I kept my face neutral. Oh? The florist said the order was canceled, and the caterer, and several others. They said someone called and canceled everything. That is strange. Patricia's eyes narrowed. You would not know anything about that, would you? I looked at her directly. Why would I know anything about wedding vendors? I am not part of the wedding party, remember? Her face twitched. A flash of something, anger or fear, I could not tell. Rachel is very upset. These vendors were confirmed. The deposits were paid. The deposits were charged to my credit cards, without my permission, without even asking. Patricia's mask slipped. For just a moment I saw the real her underneath. The calculating woman who had raised one daughter to give and another to take. Olivia, she said carefully, I do not know what has gotten into you lately. But this is your sister's wedding, her special day. Surely you can put aside whatever grievances you have and help make it perfect. I smiled. It was not a kind smile. You told me the greatest gift I could give was my disappearance. I am just getting started. I walked away, left her standing in the kitchen with her mouth hanging open. That evening my phone rang. Rachel. I almost did not answer, but I was curious what she would say. What have you done? She screamed before I could even say hello. The florist called me. They said everything is canceled. Everything. My flowers, my centerpieces, my bouquet. Do you have any idea how hard it was to book them? I booked them, on my credit card, without your permission. She ignored that. You are ruining my wedding, 2 weeks before the biggest day of my life, and you are ruining everything. I am not ruining anything. I am simply removing my financial contribution, as you requested. I did not request this. You asked me to disappear from the family. I am disappearing, starting with my money. There was silence on the other end. Then her voice came back, smaller, confused. This is insane. You are being completely insane. No, Rachel. I am being clear. For the first time in years, I am being very clear. I hung up. She called back 4 times. I did not answer. Later that night, there was a soft knock on my bedroom door. I opened it to find Grace standing there holding something in her hands. Your mother let me in, she said. I told her I needed to return a casserole dish. She had not borrowed a casserole dish. But Patricia did not know that. Grace handed me a small leather journal. My late husband kept one of these, she said, when things got bad. When he needed to sort through his thoughts, I thought you might find it useful. I took the journal. The leather was soft, worn with age. Write it down, Grace said. Everything you are feeling, everything you are doing. Someday you might want to remember how strong you were. I hugged her. It was the first time I had hugged anyone in months. Thank you, Grace. For everything. She patted my back. You are going to be fine, Olivia. Better than fine. She left. I sat on my bed with the journal in my hands. I opened it, found a pen, and I started writing. Monday arrived faster than I expected. I sat in Helen's office signing the closing papers. The Hendersons sat across from me, smiling, excited about their new home. The house sold for full asking price. After paying off the remaining mortgage, I walked out with a cashier's check that would fund my fresh start. The new owners would take possession in 1 week, 7 days to clear out whatever remained. 7 days until my family discovered the truth. I shook hands with the Hendersons, wished them well, meant it. Helen walked me to the door. "How do you feel?" she asked. I thought about it. Relieved, terrified, free. "All of the above," I said. She smiled. "Daniel would be proud of you." I hoped so. I hoped wherever he was he could see what I was doing. I hoped he understood. I got in my car, put the cashier's check in my purse, sat there for a moment in the parking lot. In 7 days, my family would realize what they had lost. In 7 days, everything would change. I started the engine and drove toward home. Not my home anymore, just a building where I used to live. A building full of people who had taken everything I had to give. It was time to stop giving. The cracks began to show 5 days before the closing. I was at work when my phone started buzzing. 3 missed calls from Rachel, 2 from Patricia, 1 voicemail marked urgent. I did not answer. I finished my shift. I drove home at normal speed. I let them wait. The house was quiet when I arrived. No one was home yet. My parents were somewhere. Rachel was probably at Marcus's apartment crying about her ruined wedding plans. I had a few hours of peace before the storm. I sat in my car in the driveway and played Patricia's voicemail. Her voice was strained, trying too hard to sound calm. "Olivia, sweetheart, there has been some kind of mix-up with the wedding vendors. Rachel is beside herself. The florist called and said the order was canceled. I am sure it is just a mistake. Call me back. We need to fix this." A mistake. That was what they would call it. A misunderstanding, an error that could be corrected if I just apologized and put everything back the way it was. I deleted the voicemail. I checked my email. Confirmation receipts from every canceled vendor, the florist, the caterer, the venue backup deposit, all refunded to my accounts. Total recovered so far, $11,400. $11,000 they had charged without permission. $11,000 they assumed I would never reclaim. A new email arrived while I was reading. From the Whitmore Estate venue. "Dear Ms. Bennett, we are sorry to see you cancel. Per your request, we have released the Chen Bennett wedding date. Please note the $4,000 deposit is non-refundable per our contract terms." I smiled. I had known that when I canceled. Some money is worth losing for the sake of freedom. And the look on Rachel's face when she found out her dream venue was gone would be worth every penny. I went inside, made tea, sat at the kitchen table, waited. My phone rang again. "Rachel," I let it ring 4 times, then answered. "What did you do?" Her voice was already at full volume. No greeting, no hello, just fury. "Hello, Rachel." "The florist called me. They said the order was canceled. By you. The venue just emailed me. They released our date. Do you understand what you have done?" I kept my voice level. I canceled the orders that were charged to my credit cards without my authorization. "Without your authorization? I told you about those. Mom said you were fine with it. No one asked me, no one showed me invoices, no one requested my permission. You took my card numbers and used them." Silence on the line. I could hear her breathing, recalibrating. Her voice shifted. Wounded now, victimized. "I cannot believe you are doing this. 2 weeks before my wedding. You are ruining everything. I am removing my financial support, as requested." What does that even mean? "You ask me to disappear from the family forever." Those were your exact words. Mom looked away. Dad nodded. "I did not mean—" "You meant every word, and I heard every word. So I am doing what you asked. I am disappearing, starting with my money. This is insane. You are being petty and vindictive, and I am being clear. For the first time in years, I am being very clear. Mom is going to— Your mother can call me herself. But Rachel, the answer will be the same." I hung up, My hands were steady. My heart rate was normal. I took a sip of tea. The phone rang again immediately. I turned it to silent. Through the kitchen window, I saw Grace in her yard, pruning roses. She looked up and caught my eye through the glass. She gave me a small nod, a nod that said, "I heard. I am here. Keep going." 20 minutes later, a car pulled up fast. My mother's silver Lexus. Both doors opened. Patricia got out first, her face flushed with anger. Harold followed, trailing behind her like he always did, hands in his pockets, eyes on the ground. I did not move from the kitchen table, did not get up to greet them, did not brace myself. The front door opened. Patricia swept in like a storm. Olivia Marie Bennett. What is the meaning of this? "Hello, Mom." "Dad." Harold lingered by the doorway. He would not look at me. Patricia planted herself in front of me. "Rachel is in tears. She says you have canceled half the wedding. Is this true? I canceled the vendors that were charged to my accounts without authorization." "Yes." "Authorization?" She spat the word like it was poison. "We are family. We do not need authorization." "Actually, you do. Credit card fraud is a crime, Mom. Even between relatives." She recoiled. "How dare you use that word? We did not commit fraud. We just assumed you would want to help. You always help, and I always did, until I was asked to disappear forever." Then I stopped. Patricia's face twisted. She tried a different approach. Her voice softened, became pleading. "Sweetheart." Rachel did not mean what she said. She was stressed. Wedding planning is so overwhelming. You have to understand. I understand perfectly. I understood when she said it. I understood when you looked away. I understood when Dad nodded. Harold flinched. Still silent, still useless. Patricia kept pushing. "We did not mean anything by that. You are twisting everything. You are making this about you when it is supposed to be about Rachel's special day. It is about Rachel's special day. A day she explicitly asked me to be absent from. I am granting that wish early. This is about the money, is it not?" Patricia's mask slipped. The sweetness vanished. "You are punishing us because of money. This is about being told I do not belong in my own family. The money is just accounting." I looked at her directly, asked the question I had been waiting 3 weeks to ask. "Why did you look away, Mom?" When Rachel said those words, why did you not say anything? Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. I did not think she meant it literally. I thought, "You thought I would take it, the way I always take it. You thought I would swallow it down and keep writing checks." She had no response. For once in her life, my mother had nothing to say. Harold cleared his throat from the doorway. "Livy, maybe we should all just—" I cut him off. Do not Livy me now, Dad." You nodded. You agreed with her. You do not get to smooth this over. His face crumbled. He looked at the floor, said nothing else. Patricia's eyes were darting around the kitchen now. She had noticed something. The counter was clear. The wedding binder was gone. The family photos on the wall had gaps where my personal pictures used to hang. "What is going on here?" she demanded. "Where are your things? I am organizing. You are packing. Where are you going? That is not your concern, not my concern. I live here." I stood up, looked her in the eye. "No, Mom, you are staying here. There is a difference, and soon there will not even be that." "What does that mean?" I said nothing. I picked up my teacup, took a calm sip. Patricia turned to Harold. "Do something. Talk to her." I do not know what to say. She has lost her mind. She is having some kind of breakdown. We need to— I set down the cup. I am not having a breakdown. I am having clarity, for the first time in 3 years. I walked past them toward Daniel's study, closed the door behind me. Through the wood, I could hear Patricia crying, Harold murmuring something useless, the front door opening and closing, car engines starting, tires on gravel. Then silence. I exhaled, sat down at Daniel's desk, opened my laptop. An email from Helen Marsh. Buyer completed final walkthrough. No issues. Closing confirmed for Monday. Sincerely, Helen. Monday, 5 days away. The house would not be mine anymore. And my family still did not know. An hour later, there was a soft knock on the back door. I opened it to find Grace, holding a plate of lemon cookies. "I saw your parents leave," she said. "Your mother looked like she had seen a ghost. She is starting to figure out that things are changing, but she does not know about the sale? Not yet. Not until it is done." Grace sat across from me at the kitchen table. Her face was serious. "I saw something today that worried me." I waited. "A man was here earlier, while you were at work. He had a clipboard, took pictures of the house. That was the buyer's appraiser. Final inspection before closing." Grace nodded. "Your mother was watching from the window." She looked confused. Then she made a phone call, paced around the yard the whole time. My stomach tightened. Patricia was suspicious. Patricia was making calls. "I do not know who she was talking to," Grace continued, "but she used the word lawyer. I thought you should know. I processed this. It was not unexpected. Patricia would fight. She would try to find some legal way to stop me." "The house is in my name alone," I said. "I have already consulted my own attorney. Whatever she is planning, it is too late." "I hope so. But desperate people do desperate things." "I know. That is why I am not telling them anything until the sale is final." Grace patted my hand. "You are doing the right thing. It is hard, but it is right." She left. I locked the back door behind her. 5 days. I just had to hold on for 5 more days. My phone lit up. A text from Marcus. "Rachel will not tell me what is going on. She has been crying all day. Can we talk again? Please." I stared at the message, considered my response. Before I could reply, I heard another car pull into the driveway. Harold's car. He was alone this time. Patricia was not with him. He came in through the front door, found me in the hallway. He looked 10 years older than he had that morning. "Can I come in?" he asked. His voice was quiet, defeated. I nodded, led him to Daniel's study, let him sit in the reading chair by the window. He sat there for a long moment, running his hands over his knees, avoiding my eyes. "I should have said something," he finally said. "That day, when Rachel told you to disappear," he could not finish the sentence. "But you did not." "No, I did not." Silence. The clock ticked. Outside, crickets began their evening song. "I have spent my whole life letting your mother make the decisions," he said, "keeping the peace." I told myself it was easier that way. It was easier, for you. He nodded slowly. He could not argue. He knew. He reached into his jacket, pulled something out, a photograph. Old, faded at the edges. I took it from him, looked at it. It was Rachel and me as children. I was maybe 8 years old. She was 3. We were at a park somewhere. I was holding her hand, helping her walk on a curb. "I found this today," Harold said, "in a box I was going through." He set nothing else on the desk, just that photograph, a memory of 2 little girls before everything went wrong. He stood, walked to the door, paused. "I do not know what you are planning, Livy, but I hope you find some peace." He left. The photograph stayed. I picked it up, looked at the 2 little girls, the big sister and the baby. I was always holding Rachel's hand, always helping her walk. It was time to let go. Late that night, I sat alone in the darkened living room. Boxes were stacked against the walls now. The house already felt different, emptier, transitional. I checked my email one more time. Confirmation from Helen. All paperwork ready. Buyer's funds verified. Monday closing on schedule. I checked my phone. 14 missed calls from Rachel, 7 from Patricia. 2 voicemails I did not play, 1 text from Marcus. "I will wait at the Copper Kettle tomorrow. 9 a.m. Whatever is happening, I need to understand." I decided I would meet him one more time. He deserved the truth, or at least enough of it to make his own choice. But I would not warn my family. They had years of warning. They just never paid attention. I stood at the window, looked out at the street I had lived on for 7 years. The magnolia tree Daniel planted, the mailbox I painted, the porch swing where we used to sit on summer nights. In 5 days it would all belong to someone else. My mother was making phone calls. My father was offering silent apologies. My sister was crying to anyone who would listen. They were finally paying attention. But it was already too late. The dominoes had started falling the moment Rachel said those words. She just did not know it yet. In 5 days, they would stand in this living room and realize how much they had lost. But tonight, the house was still mine. And I sat in the silence, counting down. The copper kettle was crowded on Saturday morning. Families with children, couples sharing breakfast, the hum of normal conversation filling the space. I arrived early and took the same booth near the back window. It was becoming our spot, mine and Marcus's, a place where truths were exchanged and illusions were shattered. Marcus walked in at exactly 9 o'clock. He looked worse than the last time I saw him. His shirt was wrinkled. His hair was uncombed. He moved like a man who had not slept in days, which he probably had not. He slid into the booth across from me without ordering anything, did not even look at the menu. "Thank you for meeting me again," he said. His voice was hoarse. "You said you needed to understand." He nodded, folded his hands on the table. They were trembling slightly. "I have been asking questions. Rachel will not answer any of them. She just cries. Her mother keeps saying you are having some kind of breakdown, that you are jealous and vindictive." He looked up, met my eyes. "But I do not believe that anymore. I have seen enough to know something is very wrong." I reached into my bag, pulled out a manila folder. Inside was a printed copy of the financial summary. Not the full binder with all the documentation, just the numbers, the totals, the categories. I slid it across the table. Marcus picked it up, opened it. His eyes moved down the page. I watched his face change. Confusion first, then disbelief, then something harder, colder. He turned pages, read line items, mortgage payments, utilities, Rachel's debts, wedding expenses, the subscription styling service she had charged to my card for 14 months. He stopped at one line. Read it aloud, his voice flat. Rachel Bennett, credit card debt payoff, $8,400. Paid by Olivia Bennett, March 2 years ago. He looked up. His face was pale. She told me she paid that off herself. She said she worked extra shifts. She said she was proud of how responsible she had been. She never paid a dime. I paid it off the day after she called me crying about collectors. Marcus set down the papers. His hands were shaking harder now. "I need you to explain this to me, all of it." So I did. I told him everything. The house was mine, bought with Daniel's life insurance. My name on the deed, my money on every payment. Patricia and Harold moved in after Daniel died. Never left, never paid rent, never offered. Rachel treated the house like family property, used my credit cards for wedding expenses without asking, charged thousands of dollars without my knowledge or permission. Total amount I had spent supporting my family in 3 years, $182,000. Marcus stared at the number, read it twice. Rachel told me her parents were covering most of the wedding. She said they had been saving for years. Her parents have been living in my house rent-free for 3 years. They have not been saving. They have been spending my money. Marcus was quiet for a long moment, processing. His world was rearranging itself in front of him. "But she said you were fine with everything, that you wanted to help, that you loved being involved. Did she tell you what she said to me 2 weeks ago? In front of her parents?" He shook his head. "She said the greatest gift I could give her for her wedding would be to disappear from the family forever." Her mother looked away. Her father nodded. Marcus went white. He set down his coffee cup because his hand was shaking too much to hold it. "She never told me that. I am not surprised." He was quiet again, staring at nothing. Then he spoke, almost to himself. "There have been other things, small things. I told myself I was imagining them. I waited. She told me she graduated with honors. I found out later she barely passed. She told me she left her last job by choice. I found out she was let go. He looked at me with something like shame. I wanted to believe her. I wanted the version of her she showed me to be real. I understand. I spent 35 years wanting the same thing from my family. The silence between us stretched out. The cafe hummed with conversation around us. Normal people living normal lives. "What are you going to do?" he asked. "I have already done it. The house sells on Monday." His eyes went wide. "Monday? That is in 2 days." "Yes. Does Rachel know?" "No. And I would appreciate if you did not tell her. Not yet." He looked at me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "I will not. But I need to think about what I am going to do." I gathered the papers, put them back in the folder. "I am not telling you what to do, Marcus. This is not about your wedding or your relationship. That is between you and Rachel. Then why show me this? Because you deserve to know what you are marrying into. I never had that choice with my family. Daniel's family never lied to me. I never had to guess who they really were." I paused. "You asked to understand. Now you do. What you do with it is up to you." Marcus sat with the folder in front of him. He did not pick it up. "Can I keep this? The summary? It is your copy. I have others." He folded the papers carefully, put them in his jacket pocket. I think I knew, on some level. I just did not want to see it. That is how it works. They count on us not wanting to see. I stood up, left cash on the table for my coffee. "Good luck, Marcus. Whatever you decide." I walked out, did not look back. Through the window, I could see him still sitting in the booth, staring at nothing. A man whose future had just been rewritten. I was walking to my car when my phone buzzed. A text from Grace. "Your mother is burning something in the backyard. Thought you should know." I drove faster than usual. My mind raced with possibilities. What would Patricia burn? What would she want to destroy? The trust document, the lawyer's letters, any evidence of their planning. But I had copies of everything. Digital backups, printouts locked in my briefcase and stored at Helen's office. Whatever Patricia burned, it was already preserved. She just did not know it. I parked in the driveway and walked around to the backyard instead of going inside. Patricia was standing by the fire pit Harold built last summer. A small fire crackled in the center. She was feeding pages to the flames, one by one. I recognized scraps as they curled and blackened. The trust document, bank statements, a letter with a law firm letterhead. She thought she was destroying evidence, covering her tracks, eliminating proof of what they had planned. She did not hear me approach. She was too focused on the fire. I watched for a moment, cataloged what I saw. Then I walked back to the front of the house and went inside through the front door. She would never know I had seen her. Some secrets are worth keeping. Inside, I noticed Harold's jacket on the couch, his wallet on the counter, his car keys. But Harold was not there. His car was gone. Patricia had come back alone. Where was my father? I did not have time to wonder. My phone buzzed again. This time it was not a text. It was Grace calling. I answered immediately. "There was a scene," Grace said. She was slightly out of breath. "At your sister's apartment. About an hour ago." "How do you know?" "My friend Doris lives in the same complex. She called me." "What happened?" Grace told me what Doris had reported. Marcus arrived at Rachel's apartment around 11. He was calm at first. Then voices raised, Rachel screaming, Marcus's voice cold and controlled. Doris could not hear exact words, but she heard fragments. "Liar, credit cards, your sister." Rachel ran out to the parking lot, followed Marcus to his car, pounding on the window, screaming his name. Marcus drove away. Rachel collapsed on the curb, crying. Patricia arrived 20 minutes later, helped Rachel back inside. Harold was not with them. I processed this. Marcus had confronted her. He had not waited. Whatever he saw in those documents, whatever lies he finally acknowledged, it had broken something. I felt nothing, not satisfaction, not guilt, just the hollow recognition of cause and effect. I did what I did. The dominoes fell where they fell. "Grace," I said, "thank you for telling me. Are you all right, dear?" "I think so. I think I have been preparing for this for a long time." "The truth has a way of finding daylight," Grace said. "You just opened the window." She hung up. I stood alone in my kitchen, surrounded by the remnants of a life that was ending. My phone rang again. Rachel. I almost did not answer. But I picked up on the fourth ring. Her voice was raw, hoarse from crying. "How could you?" I said nothing. "Let her continue. You showed him everything. You ruined everything. He is calling off the wedding." I kept my voice level. He asked me questions. I gave him honest answers. "You twisted everything. You made me look like a liar." I showed him receipts, Rachel, bank statements, credit card records. "There is no twisting, just accounting. He thinks I am a liar. Did you tell him the truth about your debts, your job, your graduation?" Silence. "I did not make you look like anything. I just stopped covering for you." Rachel's voice shifted. Desperate now. "You are destroying my life, my wedding, my future." "Are you happy now?" "No, I am not happy. But I am not responsible for your life, Rachel. I never was. I just forgot that for a while. You are supposed to be my sister. I was, for 35 years. And you told me to disappear." Pause. "So I am." I hung up. The phone rang again, and again. I turned it off. Outside the window, a car pulled into the driveway. Harold's car. He sat in the driver's seat for a long moment, staring at the house. Then he pulled out his phone and made a call. A minute later, my landline rang. The old one Daniel installed. Almost no one had that number. I picked up. "Livy." Harold's voice was tired. "Thin. Dad." Long pause. "Is it true? About the house?" "Yes." "You are selling it?" "Already sold. Closing is Monday." I heard him exhale. A long, shaky breath. The sound of a man watching his world collapse. "Where will we go?" "That is not my problem to solve anymore, Dad." My voice stayed steady. Calm. "You have 48 hours to find somewhere else to live. The new owners take possession Tuesday morning. 48 hours. Livy, your mother made her choice. You both did. When you nodded, when you looked away, I did not mean... It does not matter what you meant. It matters what you did." Silence on the line. I could hear him breathing. An old man realizing the ground beneath him had vanished. "I am sorry." 2 words. Too late. But they sounded real. "I know, Dad. But sorry does not fix this." He did not argue, did not apologize again, did not make excuses. He just hung up. I set down the phone, stood at the window. Outside, Harold's car reversed out of the driveway. Headlights swept across the yard as he turned and drove away. I did not know where he was going. I did not know if he would tell Patricia. I did not know what would happen next. But I knew one thing. In 2 days, the house would belong to someone else. My family would have nowhere to go. And I would finally be free. But freedom has a weight to it. A gravity. I stood in the darkened kitchen and felt it settle on my shoulders. This was the price of disappearing. I was ready to pay it. I woke before dawn on the last day I would ever spend in that house. The room was already stripped bare, just a mattress on the floor, one suitcase packed. The alarm clock Daniel bought me years ago, still ticking faithfully in the darkness. I lay there for a moment, listening to the silence. In a few hours, this room would belong to someone else. These walls would hold different memories. This floor would carry different footsteps. I got up, walked through empty rooms. My footsteps echoed differently now. The furniture was gone, sold or donated or packed in the moving truck that would arrive at 8. I stopped at the kitchen window. The magnolia tree caught the first light of morning. Daniel planted it our first spring here. 7 years of growth. 7 years of blossoms. I wondered if the new owners would care for it the way we did. The movers arrived exactly on time. 3 men in work shirts, professional, efficient. They did not ask questions. They had seen this before. Houses being emptied, lives being rearranged. I directed them with a clipboard in hand. These boxes go to storage. These go to the new apartment. These get donated. My life, sorted into categories, packed into cardboard, labeled with black marker. The men worked quickly. By 10 in the morning, the truck was half full. By noon, almost everything was loaded. I noticed the silence from the rest of the house. My parents' bedroom door stayed closed. Rachel's car was not in the driveway. They knew what was happening. They had to know. But no one emerged. I wondered if they were hoping I would change my mind, hoping I would knock on their door and apologize, hoping I would be the one to fix everything the way I always had before. I did not knock. I kept packing. At 11:15, Grace walked over from her house. She carried a thermos of coffee and the quiet presence of a woman who had seen too much to be surprised by anything. "They have not come out at all?" she asked, looking at the closed bedroom door. "Not yet. They are hoping you will blink first." I took the thermos from her, poured myself a cup. I am done blinking. 12:30. The front door opened. Patricia stepped out, still in her robe, hair uncombed, face pale and puffy from crying or not sleeping or both. She looked at the moving truck, looked at the boxes being carried out, looked at me standing in the driveway with my clipboard. "You are really doing this. The new owners take possession tomorrow morning. You need to have your things out by tonight." Her voice cracked. "Where are we supposed to go? That is something you should have thought about before you asked me to disappear." She began to cry, loud, theatrical sobs that echoed across the yard. "After everything we have done for you, after all the sacrifices, this is how you repay us?" I did not respond. I turned back to my clipboard, checked off another box. "You are just going to stand there? You are not even going to look at me?" I looked. My face was calm. My voice was even. "I have been looking at you my whole life, Mom, waiting for you to see me. It never happened. That is not fair. I love you. I have always loved you. You loved what I could do for you. There is a difference." She staggered back. Her hand went to her chest. "I cannot breathe. Harold! Harold!" Harold came out, dressed but disheveled. He looked like he had aged a decade overnight. "What is happening? She is throwing us out. She is heartless. Call someone. Call a lawyer. Call the police." Harold put a hand on Patricia's shoulder. His voice was quiet. "Pat, stop. Do not tell me to stop. This is our home." "No." Harold's voice was firm, clearer than I had ever heard it. "It is not. It never was." Patricia stared at him, betrayed by the one person she had always counted on to enable her. "We need to start packing," Harold said. He guided her back inside. The door closed behind them. Grace exhaled beside me. "Well, that was something." One of the movers approached. "Ma'am, there is a woman at the end of the driveway. Says she is your sister. She wants to talk to you." I handed Grace my coffee, walked down the driveway. Rachel stood at the edge of the property, arms wrapped around herself. She was wearing yesterday's clothes, mascara smeared, hair pulled back in a messy knot. She looked smaller than I had ever seen her. Younger. Lost. "Please, can we just talk?" I stopped 3 feet away, kept my distance. "I am listening." Her words came out in a rush. "I know I said things. I know what I said was wrong. I did not mean it. I was stressed. The wedding was making me crazy. You have to understand. I understand perfectly. You meant every word. And even if you did not," Mom looked away. Dad nodded. "No one defended me. But we can fix this. You do not have to sell the house. You can stop all of this. Just give us more time. I gave you 3 years. I gave you $182,000. I gave you everything I had. Then give us one more chance." "Why?" So you can treat me the same way next year, next month, next week? She had no answer. My voice softened, not with forgiveness, with finality. You never saw me as your sister, Rachel. You saw me as a resource, a backup plan, someone who would always be there to clean up your messes. That is not... The wedding is not my responsibility. Your debts are not my responsibility. Mom and Dad's living situation is not my responsibility. I paused. Let the words settle. I am 35 years old. I buried my husband 3 years ago, and instead of grieving, I spent every day taking care of people who never once asked how I was doing. Rachel's mouth opened, closed. She had nothing. Go help Mom and Dad pack. You have until tonight. I turned and walked back toward the house. Olivia! Her voice was desperate. Olivia! I did not look back. From her yard, Grace caught my eye and mouthed something. Pastor Williams just pulled up. A silver sedan parked on the street. Pastor David Williams stepped out. Mid-60s, gray hair, kind face. He had been the pastor at First Baptist of Willow Creek for 20 years. He approached slowly, hands clasped in front of him. The posture of a man who had walked into many family conflicts. Olivia, I got a call from your mother this morning. I am not surprised. She asked me to come and mediate. I set down my clipboard. With respect, Pastor, there is nothing to mediate. The house is sold. The closing is tomorrow. My decision is final. I understand. But your mother is very upset. She feels this situation has spiraled. It spiraled when my sister asked me to disappear from the family forever and my parents agreed. His expression shifted. Surprise first, then careful neutrality. I was not aware of the full context. No one is. That is part of the problem. I hesitated, made a decision. Wait here. I went inside, returned with a manila folder, a condensed version of the financial summary, the key numbers, the major categories. I handed it to Pastor Williams, in case anyone at church asks what happened, in case my mother tries to rewrite history. He took the folder. Did not open it yet. Is this what I think it is? Everything I have paid for, everything I have done, everything they took without asking. He nodded slowly. I will review it. And I will pray for your family. Pray for them. I have done enough. He walked back to his car, folder in hand. I noticed neighbors gathering on porches and lawns. Mrs. Patterson pretending to water plants that did not need watering. The Delgado family standing on their porch. Old Mr. Hensley walking his dog at an unusually slow pace. They were all watching, all listening. The story was already spreading. By tomorrow, everyone would know. Inside the house, chaos had erupted. Patricia and Harold were throwing things into suitcases. No system, no organization, just panic. Patricia saw me pass the doorway. You called the pastor. You are humiliating us. You called him Mom, not me. I called him to help, to make you see reason, and now he has a copy of everything I have documented. So when you tell people your version, they will have the facts. Her face went white. I am not humiliating you. I am just telling the truth. What happens after that is not my concern. I walked past, kept moving. Harold kept packing. He folded shirts with mechanical precision. A man who had given up fighting. I felt a flicker of something. Pity, maybe, or sadness for the father I once thought he was. But I did not stop. By 4 p.m, the movers were gone. My belongings were either in storage or in my new apartment across town. The house was nearly empty. Just my parents' suitcases by the door. Rachel's boxes in the living room. Bare walls. Bare floors. It looked like a house that had already been abandoned. Rachel sat on the living room floor, surrounded by boxes. She was scrolling through her phone. I caught a glimpse of the screen. Marcus's name. A wall of blue messages from Rachel. No responses. He was not answering. He was not coming back. At 5:30, a car pulled into the driveway. A couple in their 40s. Professional clothes, warm smiles. The Hendersons. I had met them during the final walkthrough. A surgeon and a teacher. Moving from Chicago for a slower pace of life. "We just wanted to stop by before tomorrow," Mrs. Henderson said. "Make sure everything is on track." "It is. The house will be empty by tonight." They looked at the moving chaos with polite discomfort. They could feel the tension in the air. "We do not want to intrude. We just wanted to say we are excited. It is a beautiful home." It was. "I hope you will be happy here." They left after a brief tour of the empty rooms. Patricia watched from the window, fury in her eyes. "You sold our home to strangers. I sold my home. To people who will actually own it." She turned away, trembling with rage. I checked my watch. 6 hours until midnight. Then the house officially would not be mine anymore. 9 o'clock. Patricia and Harold were loading the last of their suitcases into Harold's car. Rachel had left an hour earlier. Crying, driving to a friend's apartment. The house was empty, truly empty, nothing but bare walls and echoes. I walked through one last time. Kitchen, living room, hallway, Daniel's study. I stood in the middle of the living room. The room where Rachel made her declaration. The room where everything changed. From my bag, I removed the binder. Black, thick, labeled on the spine in block letters. What disappears? Inside was the complete ledger, every receipt, every statement, every line item, 147 entries spanning 3 years. And on top, a single envelope addressed to Rachel. I placed it on the kitchen counter. The only thing left in the house. Tomorrow, someone would find it. Maybe Rachel, coming back for something forgotten. Maybe my parents. Maybe the new owners. It did not matter who found it first. The truth was there, waiting. I walked out the front door. Did not lock it. The new owners would do that tomorrow. I stood on the porch one last time, looked at the magnolia tree, the porch swing, the mailbox I painted. 7 years of memories. 7 years of hope and grief and silent sacrifice. It was over. They would find it tomorrow. The binder, the letter, everything I had carried in silence for 3 years finally set down. I did not leave it for revenge. I left it as a mirror. Sometimes people need to see themselves clearly, even if they do not want to. I walked to my car, started the engine, pulled out of the driveway for the last time. Behind me, the house sat empty. But it was not really empty. I had left the truth inside, and nothing would ever be the same. I woke in my new apartment for the first time. The room was small, clean white walls, boxes stacked against every surface, sunlight through unfamiliar windows casting unfamiliar shadows. I lay there for a moment, taking inventory. The quilt my grandmother made, finally unpacked. A small nightstand I bought at a thrift store last week. The alarm clock Daniel gave me, still keeping faithful time. This room belonged to me. Every object chosen by me. Every corner peaceful because I made it so. I got up, made coffee in a kitchen that held only my things. No one else's tea collection, no one else's newspaper on the counter, no one else's expectations hanging in the air. It was quiet, strange, almost unsettling after 3 years of constant noise. I checked my phone, no messages. My family did not have this address. They did not have this number. I had changed both. 10 o'clock. I drove to the title company office to meet Helen Marsh. The closing took less than an hour. Papers signed, keys exchanged, a cashier's check placed in my hands. The house was officially sold. I was officially free. Helen shook my hand at the door. "You did the right thing. I have seen a lot of family situations in this business. You handled it with more grace than most." I tucked the check into my bag. It does not feel like grace. It just feels necessary. I walked out into the morning sun. The weight on my shoulders was different now. Lighter, but not gone. Somewhere across town, my family was waking up to an empty house that no longer belonged to anyone they knew. My phone buzzed. A text from Grace. "Your sister's car just pulled into the old driveway. She has a key." She is going inside. My heart rate spiked, then settled. It was happening. Let it happen. I called Grace immediately. She answered on the first ring. "I am on my porch," she said. Slightly breathless. "I can see everything. Tell me what is happening." Grace became my eyes and ears. She narrated in real time, her voice low and steady. "Rachel parked in the driveway about 10 minutes ago. She sat in the car for a while, just staring at the house. Then she got out, walked to the front door, used her key. I waited, gripped the phone. The door opened. She stepped inside. Long pause. She has been in there about 5 minutes now. No sound, nothing. I could picture it. Rachel walking through empty rooms, seeing bare walls where furniture used to be, seeing bare floors where rugs used to lie, seeing nothing where everything used to be. "Wait," Grace said. "I hear something." She is yelling. I can hear her through the walls. Another car. Grace's voice tightened. "Your mother, Patricia's silver Lexus, just pulled up." I closed my eyes, listened. Patricia is getting out, almost running. Your father is in the passenger seat. He is staying in the car. Footsteps, a door opening, more voices. "They are both inside now," Grace said. "More yelling, both of them. I cannot make out words, but it is loud." Pause. "Your mother just screamed something about that binder. I think they found it." I exhaled slowly. The binder was on the counter. Black, thick, labeled in block letters. What disappears? Everything I had documented, every receipt, every statement, every dollar they had taken without asking. 147 line items spanning 3 years. "Grace," I said, "can you get closer? I am moving to the fence line, pretending to check my roses." Through the living room window she could see shapes moving. Rachel holding something, flipping pages. Your sister has the binder. She is reading it, page after page. Long silence. Your mother is trying to grab it. Rachel is pushing her away. More silence. Now Rachel is sitting on the floor, just reading. She is not moving, just reading. I imagined my sister's face, the slow realization, the numbers adding up to a truth she had spent her whole life ignoring. "Your mother is crying," Grace said, pacing, pulling at her hair. Pause. Rachel is not crying. She is just still, like she is in shock. Grace's voice dropped lower. "There is another car coming. I do not recognize it. Wait. It is that young man. The fiancé, Marcus." My breath caught. I had not expected him to come. But of course he came. Rachel would have called him, begged him to come, told him everything was falling apart. And now he was walking into the truth. "Marcus parked on the street," Grace said. "He is getting out slowly. He looks tired, resigned, like a man walking into something he already knows will hurt." Rachel ran out of the house. She met him on the lawn. She is grabbing his arm, talking fast, pointing at the house. Pause. He is not responding, just listening. His face is like stone. They walked inside together. The door closed. Grace moved to a different position. The side of her house near the fence. She could see into the kitchen window now. They are all in the kitchen. The binder is on the counter. Marcus is reading it. Long pause. Patricia is talking at him, gesturing, trying to explain something. He is not looking at her. He is just reading. Rachel is standing in the corner, arms crossed. She looks scared. I could picture it perfectly. Marcus turning pages, seeing the numbers, seeing the receipts, seeing the evidence of every lie Rachel had ever told him. "He stopped reading," Grace said. He is looking at Rachel now. Pause. "He said something. I cannot hear exactly." "Wait." She is shaking her head. He said it again. Louder. I heard it. "Did you know about any of this?" Silence from the house. She is not answering. She is just standing there. He asked again. "Rachel, did you know?" Still nothing. She is crying now, but she is not answering. I closed my eyes. I knew what that silence meant. Rachel knew. She had always known. She just never thought anyone would ask. Grace's voice sharpened. "Your mother just tried to grab the binder. She is saying something about throwing it away." But Marcus stopped her. He is holding it away from her. He looks angry, really angry. I heard a sound through the phone. Voices raised, something falling. More people outside now, Grace said. Mrs. Patterson from across the street, the Delgado family, Mr. Hensley with his dog. The commotion had drawn attention. In a small town like Willow Creek, this kind of drama could not stay private for long. The front door opened. Marcus walked out, binder in hand. Rachel followed, grabbing at his arm. "Marcus, please, let me explain." His voice was cold, clear, loud enough for Grace to hear. "You have had weeks to explain. Months. Years. You lied to me about everything." Their voices carried across the lawn. The neighbors heard every word. Patricia appeared in the doorway. "This is a family matter. Everyone mind your own business." No one moved. No one looked away. Mrs. Patterson, loud enough to be heard. "I always wondered who was really paying for all that." Patricia's face went red with fury. Marcus turned to the small crowd. He did not seem to care anymore who was listening. "Did you all know that Olivia paid for everything? The house, the bills, the wedding, all of it?" Murmurs, shaking heads. A few people exchanged glances. Mr. Hensley spoke first. "I knew she was generous. Did not know it was that much." Mrs. Delgado nodded. "We never saw the parents pay for anything. Always Olivia at the grocery store. Always Olivia signing for deliveries." The truth, spoken aloud by neighbors who had watched for years and said nothing. Rachel stood frozen on the lawn. Her reputation was unraveling in real time. Grace's voice dropped. "Your father just got out of the car. He is walking toward the group, but he is not going to Patricia. He is walking toward Marcus." Harold approached slowly. His shoulders were slumped. He looked like a man who had finally stopped pretending. "May I see it?" Harold asked. "The binder." Marcus hesitated, then handed it over. Harold flipped through pages. His hands trembled. "He is reading," Grace said. Slowly. "His face is broken. I have never seen him look like that." Harold closed the binder, handed it back to Marcus. "I did not know the numbers." His voice cracked. "I knew we were not paying our share, but I did not know it was this much." Patricia's voice was sharp. "Harold! Do not you dare!" "I knew, Pat." Harold's voice was louder than I had ever heard it. "We both knew. We just did not want to see it. She is our daughter. She was supposed to help. She did help. For years. And we thanked her by telling her to disappear." Silence across the lawn. Harold looked at Marcus. "I am sorry. For my daughter, for all of us. She deserved better than this." He turned and walked back to the car. Got in, closed the door. Patricia stood alone on the porch, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. "Marcus is walking back to Rachel now," Grace said. "He is saying something to her. Quiet. I cannot hear. But Rachel is shaking her head. She is crying harder now." I pressed the phone to my ear, barely breathing. I can hear him now. He is speaking louder. Marcus's voice clear enough for Grace to hear. "I have been trying to understand, trying to give you the benefit of the doubt. But you lied to me. About money, about your family, about who you are." Rachel's voice was desperate. "I love you. Does that not matter? Love is not supposed to feel like this. Love is not supposed to be built on lies. We can fix this. We can go to counseling. The wedding is off." Rachel's scream was loud enough for me to hear through the phone. "You cannot do this." "The invitations are out. Everyone knows. Everyone will know the wedding is canceled. That is not the worst thing. What is worse than that? Marrying someone I cannot trust. Living a lie for the rest of my life." He turned, walked to his car, got in. Rachel ran after him, pounding on the window. "Marcus! Marcus!" The car pulled away, slowly, deliberately, not looking back. Rachel collapsed on the lawn, sobbing. Patricia rushed to her daughter, helped her up, guided her back to the house. The neighbors began to disperse, but the whispers continued. "He is gone," Grace said. "Marcus is gone. Your mother just took Rachel inside. And my father, still in the car, has not moved. I think he is just sitting there." Pause. "It is over, Olivia. It is really over." I exhaled. a long, shaky breath I did not know I was holding. "Thank you, Grace. For everything. I did not do anything. You did." We hung up. I was standing in my small apartment, boxes everywhere, a life waiting to be unpacked. Through the window I could see downtown Willow Creek, the coffee shop, the church steeple, the streets I had known my whole life. Somewhere across town, my family was in ruins. The wedding was canceled. The truth was public. I thought I would feel triumphant. I did not. I felt empty, clean, like a wound that had finally been drained. I thought about the letter I had left for Rachel, the one inside the binder. I had written it 3 days ago. It took me 6 drafts. The final version was simple. "Rachel, you asked me to disappear. This is what disappears with me. There is no anger in these pages, just accounting. I hope your wedding day would have been beautiful. I hope you find what you are looking for. I will not be there to see it. Olivia." Simple, honest, final. I sat on my new couch, the one I bought for myself, with my own money, for my own space. I closed my eyes. He walked away. Rachel screamed, and across town, I finally exhaled. The binder had done its work. Not as a weapon, as a mirror. They finally saw themselves. I did not feel like I had won. I felt like I had survived. And for the first time in 3 years, that was enough. The wedding was off. The truth was out. And I was finally, completely free. 1 week passed. 7 days of silence and adjustment and learning to live in a space that belonged only to me. I woke each morning in my small apartment, surrounded by boxes I was slowly unpacking. The routine was simple. Coffee at dawn, work during the day, evenings spent arranging furniture and hanging pictures and discovering what it felt like to exist without the constant weight of other people's expectations. The world outside my door had not been so quiet. My old phone sat in a drawer. I checked it once a day, like taking medicine I did not want but knew I needed. The screen was always full. 17 voicemails, 23 texts, 4 emails marked urgent. I did not listen to most of them. I could guess the contents by the caller ID. Patricia had left 6 voicemails. Her tone shifted across them, from fury to pleading to something that sounded almost like grief. I deleted them without listening past the first few seconds. Rachel left 4. I heard fragments before hitting delete. "How could you? You ruined everything. I hope you are happy." Harold left 1. Late at night, 2 in the morning according to the timestamp. It lasted only 14 seconds. I almost listened to that one. Almost. The rest were from extended family, old friends, people I had not spoken to in years. The story had spread. In a town like Willow Creek, it was inevitable. One voicemail caught my attention. Aunt Dorothy, my father's older sister, 70 years old, lived in Savannah. We had not spoken in 3 years, not since Daniel's funeral. Her voice was warm but serious. "Olivia, honey, I heard what happened. I need to talk to you. There are things I should have said a long time ago. Please call me back. I saved that one." I would call her later, when I was ready. I needed groceries, milk, coffee, basic supplies. I drove to the Piggly Wiggly on the edge of town, far from my old neighborhood, far from familiar faces. It did not matter. I was recognized immediately. The cashier was a woman in her 50s, gray hair pulled back, reading glasses on a chain around her neck. She looked at me, then looked again, then smiled. "You are the Bennett girl, aren't you? The older one?" I nodded cautiously. She leaned in, lowered her voice. "Honey, my sister goes to First Baptist. She told me everything. What your family did to you. It is shameful." I did not know how to respond. She patted my hand across the conveyor belt. "You did the right thing. Do not let anyone tell you different." I thanked her and gathered my bags. Walked to my car. Noticed people glancing, whispering, not hostile, curious, sympathetic. A man I did not recognize tipped his hat as I passed. "Ma'am." A young mother with a stroller gave me a small, knowing smile. The story had taken on a life of its own. in coffee shops and church pews, in text chains and phone calls between neighbors. I imagined the versions spreading. Did you hear about the Bennett family? The older daughter sold the house right out from under them. Apparently she paid for everything, years and years. And they told her to disappear. The younger one's wedding got canceled. The fiancé found out she had been lying about money. Some versions were probably exaggerated. Some were probably softened. But the core truth remained. I was used. I was dismissed. And I finally said enough. Grace called that evening with an update. Pastor Williams gave a sermon yesterday, she said. Did not name names, but everyone knew. What did he say? Something about gratitude, about recognizing the people who carry us, about taking for granted those who give the most. Pause. Your mother walked out halfway through, made quite a scene. I closed my eyes. Even now, Patricia was performing. But here is the thing, Grace continued. People stayed, they listened, and after the service 3 different women came up to me and said the same thing. What? They said, I am glad someone finally told the truth. Grace added something else, almost as an afterthought. Your sister posted something on Facebook, a long statement, blaming you for everything. But it is not going well. What do you mean? The comments. People are not agreeing with her. Some of them are quite harsh. Against my better judgment, I opened Facebook on my laptop. Rachel's post was at the top of my feed, public, shared by mutual friends, commented on by dozens. Her statement was long, emotional, carefully crafted to paint herself as the victim. I never thought my own sister would destroy my life over money. She has been planning this for months, waiting for the perfect moment to humiliate me. My family is homeless because of her selfishness. I lost my fiancé because she poisoned him against me. I hope someday she realizes the pain she has caused. I scrolled down to the comments. They were not what Rachel expected. A high school classmate wrote first. Rachel, I worked with Olivia at the hospital. She is one of the kindest people I know. There is definitely more to this story. A church member wrote next. I saw the documentation. Pastor Williams has a copy. Maybe you should look at it before calling your sister selfish. Someone I did not recognize wrote third. So let me get this straight. Your sister paid for your wedding, your parents' living expenses, and your credit card debt, and you are the victim? The ratio was devastating. 300 reactions, mostly angry faces and laughing emojis. 87 comments, and at least 70 were critical of Rachel. A few supporters tried to defend her, but they were drowned out. I refreshed the page an hour later. The post was gone. Deleted, but screenshots were already circulating. Grace sent me one. Claire sent another. The internet does not forget. Neither does a small town. I closed my laptop. I did not feel satisfaction, just exhaustion. Some battles are not worth winning. They are just worth surviving. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. This is Harold. I have a new phone. Your mother does not know this number. Can we talk? Please. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I put the phone down without responding. Through Grace and church whispers and fragments of overheard conversation, I pieced together where my family had ended up. Patricia and Harold were staying at the Willow Creek Motor Lodge, a cheap motel on the highway, $49 a night, paying by the week. Extended family had refused to take them in. Aunts, uncles, cousins, all declined after hearing the full story. Patricia's sister in Florida said no. I love you, Pat. But I saw those numbers. You treated that girl like an ATM. You cannot stay here. Harold's brother in Tennessee said no. I told you years ago to stop letting Pat run everything. You did not listen. Figure it out yourself. The safety net they assumed would exist did not. Rachel was staying with a college friend named Megan in Atlanta. But that arrangement was fraying. Megan called Grace with concerns. They shared a distant connection through church. Rachel cries all day, Megan said. She does not eat. She keeps calling Marcus and he will not answer. I do not know how much longer I can do this. The wedding that was supposed to happen in 3 weeks was canceled. Venue notified, guests informed, gifts returned. Marcus had gone silent. changed his number, blocked Rachel on every platform. He was not coming back. Some betrayals cannot be forgiven. I sat with this information in my small apartment. My family, who told me to disappear, was now the one scattered and invisible. My parents, who lived in my house rent-free, were now paying by the week at a roadside motel. My sister, who was planning the wedding of the year, had no wedding and no fiancé. The tables had turned. Not through vengeance, through consequence. I did not orchestrate their fall, I just stopped holding them up. Gravity did the rest. That evening, I decided to return one call. Just one. Aunt Dorothy answered on the second ring. Olivia. Thank God. I did not think you would call back. You said there were things you should have told me. Long pause. I have been carrying this for 40 years. It is time I put it down. She spoke slowly, carefully, like someone choosing each word with precision. Your mother. Patricia has always been this way. Even before she married your father. She picks favorites. She manipulates. She takes and never notices what she has taken. When you were born, I saw how she looked at you, like you were a helper, not a daughter, even as a baby. Rachel came along, and suddenly there was a real child, the one who needed protection, the one who deserved everything. I tried to say something to Harold once. He told me to mind my own business, so I did. And I have regretted it ever since. I listened, my throat tight, my eyes burning. I should have fought harder for you, Dorothy said. I should have said something to your face. I am sorry, Olivia, I am so sorry. You are saying it now. Too little, too late. Maybe, but it still matters. We talked for another hour. Dorothy shared stories I had never known. Moments of Patricia's manipulation that went back decades. Patterns I could never see because I was too close. By the end, I understood something I had been too afraid to admit. I was never the problem. I was never too sensitive or too demanding. I was just born to the wrong mother. Before hanging up, Dorothy added one more thing. Your father called me yesterday. First time in years. He sounded broken. I think he is finally waking up. Wednesday afternoon. Claire insisted on taking me to lunch. You need to get out, she said. You need to remember there is a world beyond all this. We sat at a corner table in a small cafe downtown. Sandwiches and iced tea. Normal things. So, Claire said, how does it feel? How does what feel? Being free. Finally. I considered the question. It does not feel like I thought it would. I expected triumph, victory, and instead, empty, clean, like a room after you have cleared out all the clutter. It is better, but it is also quiet. Claire reached across the table, squeezed my hand. You did what most people only dream about. You stood up for yourself. You said enough. And you did it without screaming or crying or begging. You just showed them the truth. And let the truth do the work. It cost me my family. Did it? Or did it cost you the illusion of a family? I had no answer. Maybe both, maybe neither. You will build a new life, Claire said. A real one. With people who see you for who you are. I hope so. I know so. It starts now. After lunch, I took the long way back to my apartment. I found myself driving past the old house without meaning to. The new owners had already begun making changes. Fresh flowers in the front bed, a new welcome mat, a child's bicycle on the porch. Life goes on, the house goes on, without my family in it. I did not stop, just drove past, watched it shrink in the rearview mirror. That evening, a knock on my apartment door. Grace stood there, holding a cardboard box. I have been saving these, she said. I did not know when to give them to you. I think now is the time. Inside the box were photographs, old ones, Olivia and Daniel, at picnics, at the house, planting the magnolia tree. You left them behind when you moved, Grace said. I went back and got them from the porch before the new owners arrived. I hope you do not mind. My eyes filled with tears. The first tears I had cried in days. Thank you. Thank you, Grace. He loved you, she said. Anyone could see that. And he would be proud of what you did. She left. I sat with the photographs, touched Daniel's face in a picture from 5 years ago. I miss you, I whispered. But I think I finally found myself again. My phone lit up. A text from Rachel. I need to see you. Please, just once. I am begging you. I stared at the screen for a long time. 3 weeks ago, she told me to disappear forever. Now she was begging to see me. I thought about everything that had happened. The binder, the neighbors, the canceled wedding, the motel room where my parents were living. I thought about Dorothy's voice on the phone, about Claire's hand on mine, about Grace's box of memories. I did not answer. Not yet. Some doors, once closed, take time to reopen, and some doors stay closed forever. I was not sure yet which kind this was. 2 weeks had passed since the binder was found. 2 weeks of silence and solitude, and learning to live without the constant noise of my family's demands. I went to work, I came home, I unpacked boxes. I read books I had been meaning to read for years. I cooked meals for one and ate them at a small table by the window, watching the sun set over a town that was slowly becoming mine again. Rachel's text still sat unanswered on my phone. I need to see you, please, just once. I am begging you. Harold had texted 3 more times, each message shorter than the last, each one more desperate. Patricia had stopped calling. The silence from her was somehow louder than the voicemails had been. I told myself I was thinking, processing, deciding. But really I was afraid. Afraid of what I might feel. Afraid of what I might say. Afraid of being pulled back in. Claire found me in the break room at lunch. She sat across from me with her sandwich and her direct stare. You cannot avoid them forever, she said. It is a small town. I am not avoiding. I am waiting. For what? I did not have an answer. Look, she said, I am not saying you have to forgive them. I am not even saying you have to see them again. But closure, real closure, sometimes requires one last conversation. What if I do not want closure? What if I just want distance? Then take distance, but make it a choice, not an escape. That evening, I pulled up Rachel's text again, read it for the 100th time. My thumb hovered over the reply button. Then I typed, Saturday, 2 p.m., the Copper Kettle, public place, 1 hour. That is all I am offering. I hit send before I could change my mind. The response came in seconds. Thank you, I will be there. Thank you, Olivia. Friday night. The night before meeting Rachel, I was cooking dinner, a simple pasta just for myself. My phone rang. Harold's new number. I had ignored him for 2 weeks. Tonight, something made me answer. Hello, Dad, Livy. His voice was rough, tired. I did not think you would pick up. Neither did I. Long pause, the sound of breathing, a television in the background, the motel room. I have been trying to figure out what to say to you. I have written it down, practiced it. But now that you are on the phone, I cannot remember any of it. I waited, stirred my pasta. Said nothing. I was a coward. My whole life, I let your mother make the decisions. I told myself it was easier. I told myself I was keeping the peace. He paused. But there is no peace in watching your daughter get crushed. There is no peace in nodding when you should have stood up. My chest tightened. I gripped the spoon harder. I watched them use you for years. I saw it happening. And I said nothing, because saying something would have meant fighting your mother. And I never had the courage for that. My voice came out steady. Why are you telling me this now? Because I am 65 years old. I am living in a motel room with a woman who blames you for everything instead of looking in the mirror, and I realized I have spent my whole life on the wrong side. Pause. I do not expect you to forgive me. I just needed you to know that I see it now. Finally. Too late, but I see it. You are right. It is too late. I know. Silence. But thank you for saying it. We did not say goodbye, we just hung up. The connection ended. But something else, something small, began. After the call, I sat at my kitchen table for a long time. I thought about my father, about the man he could have been, about the man he chose to be instead. Then I opened my laptop, searched for something I had been avoiding: cheap apartments in Willow Creek, affordable housing for seniors. I did not know why I was looking. I told myself it meant nothing. Saturday afternoon, 2:00, the Copper Kettle. I arrived early, ordered black coffee, sat in the same booth where I had met Marcus weeks ago. The cafe was busier on Saturday. Families, couples, teenagers with laptops. Normal life happening all around. At exactly 2:00, Rachel walked in. She looked different, thinner, paler. Her hair, usually perfect, was pulled back in a simple ponytail. No makeup, dark circles under her eyes. She looked like someone who had not slept in weeks, because she probably had not. She slid into the booth across from me. Did not order anything. Just sat there, hands clasped on the table. "Thank you for coming," she said. "You have 1 hour." She took a shaky breath. "I have been trying to figure out what to say, how to explain, how to make you understand. I am not here for explanations. I am here to listen. Once, and then we are done." She flinched, but nodded. "I did not realize how much you were doing. I know that sounds impossible. But I did not. Mom always said you were happy to help, that you wanted to contribute, that it made you feel needed. And you believed that? I wanted to believe it. It was easier. Easier for you. Yes, easier for me." Silence. Her eyes filled with tears. When I said those words at the meeting, I did not mean them, not really. I was stressed and scared, and Mom kept telling me the wedding would be perfect if you just stepped back. So it was Mom's idea. She hesitated, then nodded slowly. "She said you made things complicated, that Marcus's family would like us better without you there, that you would overshadow everything because you are always so competent and together, and that I was an embarrassment." She did not deny it. I leaned forward. "Let me tell you what I heard that day. My sister, my only sister, looked me in the eye and told me the greatest gift I could give was my absence, forever." My mother looked away. My father nodded, and no one said, "Wait, that is too far." You did not misspeak. You said exactly what you meant. What you had probably been thinking for years. Rachel was crying now, quietly, tears running down her cheeks. "I am sorry. I am so sorry, Olivia. I believe you are sorry now. Now that the wedding is canceled. Now that Marcus is gone. Now that you are living on a friend's couch and Mom and Dad are in a motel. That is not... You are sorry because there are consequences. Not because you actually understand what you did." Rachel looked at me with something like desperation. "Can we start over, please? Can we try to be sisters again?" I was quiet for a long moment. I looked at her, really looked. Saw the little girl I used to carry on my shoulders. The teenager I taught to drive. The woman who became a stranger. I do not know. Maybe someday, but not today. What does that mean? It means I am not ready to forgive you. And I am definitely not ready to trust you. So that is it? For now. Yes, that is it. I stood. Left cash on the table for my coffee. "Goodbye, Rachel." I walked out without looking back. Through the cafe window I could see her sitting alone in the booth, head down, shoulders shaking, the loneliest person in the room. I felt something. Not satisfaction, not pity, something in between. Something that had no name. Sunday morning. I checked my mailbox. Among the bills and junk mail, a handwritten envelope. The return address was the Willow Creek Motor Lodge. Patricia's handwriting. I took it inside, made coffee, sat at the table. I opened the envelope slowly, unfolded the letter. Patricia's letter was 2 pages, handwritten in her careful script. The first page was blame, accusations, guilt trips. "You have destroyed this family. Your father can barely look at me anymore. Rachel is a shell of herself. I hope you are proud of what you have done. The second page shifted. Cracks in the armor. I do not understand why you had to do this publicly. I do not understand why you could not just talk to us. I thought we were a family. I thought families worked things out. The ending was a question. I am your mother. Does that not mean anything? I read the letter twice. I noticed what was missing. No apology, no acknowledgement, no, I was wrong. Just pain and blame and the assumption that I should fix everything. As always. I folded the letter, placed it back in the envelope. I did not respond. I did not need to. Some messages do not deserve answers. Some doors stay closed. At the bottom of the envelope there was something else. A photograph, me as a child, maybe 4 years old, sitting on Patricia's lap, both of us smiling. A message on the back in Patricia's handwriting. We were happy once. Were we not? I stared at the photo for a long time. Then I put it in a drawer. I did not throw it away, but I did not display it either. Sunday evening, my laptop pinged. New email. From Marcus Chen. Subject line. Thank you. I opened it with trepidation. His message was brief, professional, sincere. Olivia. I wanted to thank you for telling me the truth, for showing me who I was about to marry. I know this was not easy for you. I know it cost you your family. But you saved me from a lifetime of lies. I cannot repay that, but I can acknowledge it. I am moving back to Chicago next week. Starting over. I hope you find peace. Marcus, I read it 3 times. Someone saw me. Someone appreciated the cost of what I did. I typed a brief reply. Marcus, thank you for reaching out. I hope Chicago treats you well. You deserve someone who tells you the truth from the beginning. Take care, Olivia. I hit send. Another door closed, but gently this time. I noticed an older email I had missed. From 3 days ago. Subject line, thinking of you. Sender, Grace Holloway. My dear girl, come for dinner Tuesday. I have something I want to give you. Grace, Tuesday evening. I parked on the street in front of Grace's yellow house, walked past my old property without looking at it. Grace's door was already open. The smell of roast chicken drifted out. Come in, come in. I made too much food, as usual. We ate at her small dining table, talked about nothing and everything, the weather, the new neighbors, a book Grace had just finished. Normal conversation. Easy, warm. After dinner, Grace brought out a small velvet box. I have been saving this, waiting for the right moment. Inside was a delicate silver bracelet. Simple, elegant, old. It belonged to my mother, Grace said. She gave it to me when I left a bad marriage 43 years ago. Grace, I cannot. You can. And you will. Because you remind me of myself. Stubborn, strong, willing to burn it all down rather than live a lie. My eyes filled with tears. I did not have children, Grace said. But if I had a daughter, I would have wanted her to be like you. We sat on Grace's porch as the sun set. Rocking chairs, iced tea, crickets starting their evening song. You know what I have learned in 70 years? Grace asked. Tell me, the people who hurt us do not always change. Sometimes they never understand what they did, and we have to make peace with that. How? By living well, by building something new, by refusing to let their blindness define our sight. Pause. You have done the hard part. You told the truth. You walked away. Now comes the harder part. What is that? Learning to be happy without carrying their weight. Later that night, I stood outside a small house on the edge of town. The realtor had given me the key that morning. A modest 2-bedroom cottage. Needed some work, but it had a yard, a porch, room to breathe. I had bought it outright. Cash, no mortgage, no one else's name on the deed. I unlocked the door, stepped inside. Empty rooms, bare floors, the smell of fresh paint and possibility. Through the back window, I could see a small garden. Overgrown, but alive. Daniel would have loved it. He would have already been planning where to put the tomatoes. I whispered to no one. I found it. Somewhere that is just mine. I stood in the living room, moonlight through the windows. For the first time in years, I unlocked a door that belonged only to me. No parents in the guest room. No sister expecting me to solve her problems. No weight of someone else's expectations. Just walls that would hold my memories. Floors that would carry my footsteps. A roof that would shelter my healing. The reckoning was over. The conversations were done. The letters had been read and set aside. Now came the part I had been afraid of all along. Learning to live for myself. 6 months had passed since I sold the house. 6 months since the binder was found and the wedding was canceled and my family scattered like leaves in a storm. I woke each morning in my cottage on the edge of town. The room was small but perfect. The quilt my grandmother made spread across the bed. The nightstand Daniel built in our first apartment. A small vase of dried lavender from my garden on the windowsill. This room belonged to me. Every object chosen. Every corner peaceful. Every breath my own. I got up, made coffee, watched steam rise from the cup as morning light filled the kitchen. Outside, birds gathered at the feeder I had hung last month. Cardinals and chickadees and one stubborn blue jay who chased everyone else away. 6 months. It felt like 6 years. It felt like 6 days. Time moves differently when you stop measuring it against other people's expectations. I walked through my home. The living room with its reading chair by the window, books stacked on shelves I installed myself. The photographs Grace rescued, now framed and displayed. Daniel smiling at me across the years. The kitchen was small but functional. Herbs growing on the windowsill. Basil and rosemary and thyme. A cast iron pan Daniel loved, finally seasoned properly after years of neglect. The back garden was dormant now, brown and bare in late November. But I had spent the summer coaxing it back to life. Tomatoes, sunflowers that grew taller than my head, roses along the fence that would bloom again in spring. Every room told a story. My story. Not the one my family wrote for me. I did not seek information about them. But in a small town, information finds you. Grace still lived next door to the old house. She provided occasional updates, whether I asked or not. The Hendersons were lovely, she said. They repainted the shutters, adopted a golden retriever. The magnolia tree was thriving. I was glad. The house deserved a happy family. It finally had one. Patricia and Harold had moved out of the motel after 2 months. Harold's brother in Tennessee finally relented. Offered them the basement apartment. Patricia hated it. She called it the dungeon. She complained to anyone who would listen. But Harold was different. He started attending a men's Bible study, volunteering at Habitat for Humanity, learning to build things with his hands. Grace told me he was actually talking now, saying what he thought. "Your mother does not know what to do with him," she said. I felt something when I heard this. Not quite hope, not quite satisfaction, just acknowledgement. Maybe people can change. Maybe it just takes losing everything first. Rachel was harder to track. She had deleted all social media, changed her phone number. Through mutual connections, I learned fragments. She spent 3 months in Atlanta, then moved to Charlotte, then somewhere in Florida. She was not married, not engaged. Working at a hotel front desk, according to one source. No contact with me, no letters, no emails, no requests for reconciliation. The silence was strange. After all the noise, the screaming, the Facebook post, the cafe meeting, just nothing. I did not know if Rachel had learned anything, if she had changed, if she would ever take responsibility. But that was not my burden anymore. A week ago, a letter arrived with no return address. Inside was a single photograph. Rachel and me as teenagers, arms around each other at a county fair. On the back, in Rachel's handwriting, "I found this while packing. I thought you should have it. No apology, no explanation, just a photograph." I put it in the drawer with Patricia's letter, not displayed, not discarded, just kept. Thanksgiving morning. I was making pumpkin bread when my phone rang. Grace's voice was cheerful. "What are you doing today?" Probably reading, making soup, nothing special. Nonsense. You are coming to my house. I have already made too much food. I tried to decline. Grace did not allow it. I am 70 years old. I have spent too many Thanksgivings alone. So have you. We are fixing that today. I arrived at Grace's at 2 o'clock. The table was set for 4. She had invited 2 other neighbors, Mrs. Patterson from across the old street, and Linda, a retired nurse who had moved to Willow Creek last year. 4 women, 4 widows, 4 people who chose to spend the holiday together rather than alone. Grace raised her glass. To family, the kind we choose. We ate. We laughed. We told stories about late husbands and stubborn children and lessons learned too late. I realized something as I sat at that table. This was what family was supposed to feel like, easy, warm, without conditions. After dinner, we sat on Grace's porch with blankets and hot cider. Linda turned to me. "What are you thankful for this year, Olivia?" I considered the question carefully. I am thankful that I finally stopped being afraid. Afraid of what? Of being alone, of not being needed, of what would happen if I stopped taking care of everyone else. I paused. Turns out the thing I was most afraid of was the thing I needed most. Grace squeezed my hand, said nothing, did not need to. As I walked home that evening, I passed my old house. Through the window, I could see the Henderson family gathered around their dinner table. A grandmother, parents, 2 children, candles lit, everyone laughing. I did not feel sad. I felt grateful. Grateful that the house was loved. Grateful that I was no longer inside pretending. Early December, a letter arrived. Harold's handwriting, postmarked Tennessee. I almost threw it away. Then I did not. I opened it at the kitchen table, read slowly. Harold's letter was different from Patricia's. No blame, no guilt trips, just honesty. Dear Livy, I have been working with a counselor. The men's group suggested it. I did not want to go, but I am glad I did. He asked me to write letters to the people I have hurt. You are at the top of that list. I spent 35 years being a coward. I let your mother make every decision because it was easier than fighting. But easy is not the same as right. You deserved a father who stood up for you, who saw you, who said that is enough when they pushed too hard. I was not that father. I am sorry. I do not expect forgiveness. I do not expect anything. I just needed you to know that I see it now, finally. Too late, but I see it. I am proud of you. I should have said that years ago. I am proud of the woman you became despite us. Love, Dad. I read the letter 3 times. I cried, not from sadness. From something more complicated, relief, grief, the strange ache of receiving something you had given up hoping for. I did not respond immediately. But I did not throw the letter away either. A week later, I sent a postcard. Just 3 words. Thank you, Dad. It was not forgiveness, not yet. But it was a door, cracked slightly open. That same week, a package arrived from Aunt Dorothy. Inside was a family photo album from the 1950s. A note tucked in the front. I thought you should have these. Your grandmother's side. The people who actually loved each other. December 14th. 3 years since Daniel died. The anniversary fell on a Tuesday. I took the day off work. I drove to the cemetery. The first time I had been since the funeral. His grave was simple, gray stone, his name, his dates, the words I chose. Beloved husband. Gentle heart. I sat on the cold ground. Did not care about the damp. I talked to him. Out loud. The way I used to when he was alive. I sold the house. You probably know that already. Mom and Dad are gone. Rachel and I do not speak. I have a cottage now, small, quiet. You would like the garden. I think you would be proud of me. I finally stopped disappearing. I traced his name with my finger. I miss you every day. But I am okay. I am actually okay. That is the miracle, is it not? That I can be okay without you. That I can miss you and still be whole. I stayed until the sun started to set. Then I kissed my palm and pressed it to the stone. I will come back, I promise. More often. I walked to my car, lighter somehow, sadder but also free. On the drive home, I passed the old street. Did not turn down it. Passed the church where Rachel made her declaration. Did not slow down. Passed the cafe where I showed Marcus the truth. Just another building now. The past was behind me, literally, figuratively. I drove toward my cottage, toward the life I built from the wreckage, toward home, Christmas Eve. I sat by my small fireplace, a real fire, a glass of wine, a book in my lap, snow falling outside, the first of the season. I thought about the year behind me, the reckoning, the aftermath, the slow work of rebuilding. I thought about the woman I was 12 months ago, the one who said yes to everything, the one who could not imagine life without her family's approval. That woman felt like a stranger now, distant, smaller. The woman I was today had grown into her own skin. I picked up my journal, the one Grace gave me. I wrote. They asked me to disappear, so I did. But here is what they never understood. When you push someone out who has been holding everything together, you do not just lose them. You lose the weight they carried in silence. The mortgage payments, the emergency loans, the emotional labor, the constant sacrifice. You lose the foundation you never bothered to see. And when that foundation vanishes, everything built on top of it collapses. Not because of revenge, not because of anger, just gravity. I did not destroy my family. I just stopped holding them up. They fell all on their own. I closed the journal, looked at the fire. For the first time in my life, I felt completely at peace with who I was. Not happy. That was too simple. Not healed. That was too complete. Just at peace. Present. Whole. The woman in the mirror was finally someone I recognized. New Year's Day. I woke early, made coffee, watched the sunrise through my kitchen window. 1 year ago today, I was standing in my living room being told to disappear. Now I stood in my own kitchen, in my own home, living my own life. The journey from there to here cost me everything I thought I wanted. It gave me everything I actually needed. I bundled up, walked into the backyard. The garden was sleeping now, brown and bare. But beneath the soil, bulbs were waiting. Seeds were dreaming. In spring there would be tulips, lavender, the roses I planted last month. I was learning to trust what I could not see, to believe in growth that happens underground. That is what healing looks like, I realized. Not a dramatic resurrection, just quiet work in dark places. Faith that something beautiful will emerge. I stood in the center of my garden. Cold air, pale sun, breath misting in the morning light. They asked me to disappear. And I did. But not the way they expected. I disappeared from their version of me. The helper, the fixer, the one who never said no. I disappeared from a life that was slowly erasing me. And in that disappearing, I finally found myself. Not the woman they wanted me to be. The woman I was all along, strong, quiet, capable of walking away. It took me 35 years to learn the hardest lesson. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is leave. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give yourself is permission to stop giving. I am not the woman I was a year ago. I am not the daughter they wanted. I am not the sister Rachel expected. I am just Olivia. Finally, at last, only. And that is more than enough. If this story stirred something in you, if you have ever felt unseen, taken for granted, or quietly erased, I want you to know you are not alone. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is not to fight back. It is to walk away with your dignity intact. Sometimes the greatest revenge is simply telling the truth. If this story resonated with you, I would love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment and tell me, have you ever had to choose yourself over someone who took you for granted? And if you would like to hear more stories like this, told honestly, without noise, take a moment to subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you do not miss the next one. Thank you for listening. Thank you for staying until the end. Take care of yourselves. You are worth it. This story is fictionalized for dramatic effect.